Hi there, and welcome to the Intellectual Adventure Podcast. Today we're joined with Robert, our guest in the middle here in the red, and he's excited to share with you the extensive journey that we have ahead of his life and what he's been through and experiencing, and he really is excited to bring that to the table today. We also have Jeff joining in randomly, as Jeff does, and he's excited to be here on a busy schedule. So I'm excited to see him and Elijah. He's right next to him in the blue shirt. Thanks for being here. And we have the Thanos today, Chad up in the corner. We're all ready to hear your story, Robert, and get into this. So I hope that you are ready to talk because we're ready for a long conversation.
Oh yeah, man. If there's one thing I can do with my ADHD is talk, man. It never ends. So man, I'm from a little town in California called Orville, California. I was born in Paradise. It's Northern California. From a young age, I was born by, younger parents. My parents weren't financially stable. They weren't financially literate. They weren't anything like towards what would build towards a better person in the someone to teach me a good standard in life or a good push in the beginning of my life. Early on, we can take it back to as early as I can remember. I was like around to 13 or 14, 12 years old and stuff like that, where my father went to prison whenever I was 15, and these are the big keys to me is a big keystone area where a man needs his father in his life. I feel like 10 to 15, a man needs his dad to teach him how to be a man, and I feel like a mom could raise a boy into a man, but it's really hard for that mother to raise a boy into a man. Growing up was kind of rough, because when he's in prison, doing his, and I'm going to be totally clarifying now in hindsight is my dad ain't really the most communicative man. He's very shut off. He's very hard headed. And even now, like I just told you the other day, Cameron, my grandfather passed like 8 days ago, and I didn't hear it from him. I heard it from another family member that we don't even really speak to. My family is very closed off and doesn't mess with each other. We're all like split up into factions, and it's lame, and I've been trying to mend this fence for a lot of years. So 10 to 15, he goes to prison. I'm not the goodest kid in school. I'm not the smartest kid. I'm not trying to put forth the learning. I got ADHD real bad. It's just rough, it's just rough going through it. I swear I tell people this all the time. I was probably the first kid to put it on Ritalin, and it was a rough go, and for me as a kid learning, like I sat in, like I was sitting in circles where people were like, sit there and talk about me on the outside of like me doing something right in front of them. And then they sit there and act like I don't hear them about how I'm a bad kid and I need this and I need to be on more medicine and my dosage needs to be upped and all this stuff, and for me, I internalized that, right? And it kind of just progressively pushed me in the direction I went into. I realize now, over internalizing a lot of my inner feelings on those kind of things, as well as not having my father around her. My mom worked 2 jobs. She was like I said, my parents were young. So like my mom was a shot girl at the bar at nighttime. And in our town being so small, like she's basically getting tips from our family members, and other friends. And then my dad, he's still in prison. My dad lived a really straightforward life. My dad was a good man. He still is a good man. And growing up, he worked at sewage plants. He worked really good, high paying jobs. Like, we didn't really have to want for nothing. You know what I mean? He had money, but they just didn't know how to save it or keep it or spend it on the right things. My dad's also a motorhead. So my uncle, they single-handedly built a speedboat that goes like 142 miles an hour, like 20 years ago, whenever it was like going that fast was scary, and they're all good people. They just didn't have the right bring up, and all my family, like before me and some of my cousins and my brother and all of us, they were all scrappers and chop shoppers and into the drug game and all those crazy lanes that should have really just paved my life to be kind of like that. But I pushed to be different than them, so like them doing that ultimately told me I need to be better than them, and not better than them in any kind of like religious or physical kind of way, but like I'm going to take the right steps to make a lot of money versus the wrong steps to make a lot of money, and that's kind of like
where willing to learn.
I was willing to learn. Yeah. I was really open to the fact of being a good person being a good kid, not following that route. I did have my route. Don't get me wrong. I went down a path and came back from it, but that's all a part of the journey, And so as we progress through my life, my dad gets in and out of prison. He goes there like twice, maybe 3 times. One day, my mom, like after she stopped messing with my dad, she met this guy, and he was his name was David, and that was my stepfather, and he ended up becoming my stepfather, right? And he wasn't down a good path either, to be honest with you guys. He was not down a good path. He was in prison. My mom had an affinity for, I guess, bad guys, and so she goes, and one day he gets in trouble, and it's like months down the road, he gets in a lot of trouble for talking to other felons on email, and he gets indicted, right? So my mom, out of nowhere, my mom stands up and she's like, "We'll see you in Louisiana," right? And then we spend like 15 years in Louisiana, where we moved. It was really a struggle because we were moving under, like everything was really against us, like my mom not having much, and then not having no support or no backing. As soon as my mom told my side of the family, my dad's side of the family, that we were all leaving state and we were moving to a different state to try to start this new life, they were instantly like cut off, like no help, no support, no nothing, and it was rough. Life was rough. As I go through my life, like don't know the direction. I don't know what I'm going to be. I don't know what to be. I don't even know who I am, like it's kind of weird because like even now, like I'm just starting to find a path of like where I want to make this turn towards financial growth. And I'm like trying to learn technical analysis for the stock market, as me, Cam and Chad were discussing at Cuba Hut that one time. Like I'm furthering my knowledge into things to make it better for the people who love me and the ones that strive to see support me. That's like my biggest thing is I just want my life to be I basically want freedom. I want to be able just to be able, like, I want to go see my friends down in Louisiana, and I want to be able to do this, and I want to be able to go be there when my family passes on and stuff like that. I can't do that right now.
Let's try to pinpoint like where your shift with your connection fully with Louisiana comes. It's mostly family, correct? Or
Louisiana, I had no family in Louisiana until my mom married my stepfather. So I apologize if I move forward too fast. I have bad ADHD, so I tend to just run through.
Elijah,
I just also wanted to reiterate, you're good, but we're all suffering from some ADHD here. So, you don't got to keep making excuses. We'll follow you like a ping pong ball. We'll be the paddle. It's all good.
No, it's just for clarity of the story, because I want to keep track here with you, because it seems like a really, really powerful thing that moved your life, all these events, and I can see the passion. You're really excited to share, and I just wanted to backtrack on a few things, because I think it would be good for the audience and good for yourself to have a little structure here to base off the start. So one thing I want to ask you is what would you consider your most memorable childhood memory? And if there's any fun facts involved with your childhood that you wanted to share.
Oh man. So like when I was young, it was actually one of my favorite things to do when I was young was walk around my town, because before all the stuff happened in my town that made it become a place where you didn't feel safe walking down the street, I was able to I could walk up the street and my family would be on almost any corner, that's how the town's like 3.5 miles long maybe. And my family is almost on every ish block of that place, or was at that point in time in my life. And when I was really young, since then we've all spread out and moved. But that was one of the funnest things I've ever done, dude, was like just take off from my house and just don't know where you're going to end up. Just go enjoy some scenes. My town has some really cool views. So like you, and I like getting out in nature and just walking around and moving around, doing those kind of things.
Yeah. How old are you, Robert?
I'm 30 years old. I just turned 30. Yeah, I just turned 30 January 4th of this year.
Well, congratulations. Yeah, you really didn't.
Yeah, no, man. I feel like it's the best time to make a turn. That's how I feel. I feel like it's the best time to make a turning point in my life and try to seek this financial freedom that I so ever want,
Absolutely.
In my town as well, as we're big on salmon. My town is the top of the dam that leads down towards, I think we talked about this, Chad and y'all, is it leads. We supply the water to the LA and all that. Like it all comes from upper Northern California where we're from. So like we have the salmon run. We have all kinds of festivals wrapped around salmon. And that was one of my favorite things to do was like go fishing. I remember getting caught by like the game warden all the time about having barbed hooks on catching salmon. And then I'd just be like, oh, I'm so sorry. Can you let me throw it back? And it was that was one of my favorite. Those were my hobbies when I was a kid, was fishing and stuff like that. I wasn't allowed to hunt when I was a kid because a lot of my family members weren't allowed to have guns,
Yeah.
If that kind of gives you a perspective of how my family operates. They operate on the lower belly of the society,
Yeah. No, I've been around, when I went to high school, there was, not to diss my high school community, but there was a rougher community overall there because the economic situation of that small town. I mean, it used to be a lumber community. There used to be 6 lumber mills in that area. Now there is 0, and all these people that grew up in that time in the 70s, growing out of it, it affected them.
Whenever the gold rush was real prominent in my area. So like whenever the gold rush had slid through, the gold rush, it had a bunch of people show up and do a bunch of things to the economic status of the community. And then out of nowhere, the gold was gone, like it's not gone, but it's gone enough to where it's not big enough around here to be popping. And that's kind of what kind of our community, how it did. And then after that, like drugs and wildfires is what ran rampant through,
Well, what's funny is I grew up in the town above him. So it's like a chain of towns that all this stuff happens in. And
which one did you live in?
Through. I lived in Quincy.
Oh, yeah. So you lived up like a little bit more north. Is it south or north? I can never tell down there.
It's northeast. Yeah, it's technically like kind of like I'm inverted. That doesn't help, but it's kind of like this, and I'm that town that's before the Y where it splits up north, and goes to Lake Almanor. Gotcha. So that's the area I've been. So I understand the country and the gold and the change of culture there, especially with the old timers. So there's people that used to be fishing in ponds that don't exist,
Yeah, I'm down in Mariposa.
Hey.
Center of the Mother Lode.
Where's Mariposa?
You know where Yosemite is?
Yosemite, like, wait, one more time?
Yosemite National Park.
Yeah, I got you.
Mariposa connects to that. It gives you an idea where it's at. But it was the center of the Mother Lode, the gold rush, and was the biggest county in California for a time during that time. And,
big time.
Talk about going big and shrinking back down after it all finished. I relate to your story a lot. It's pretty insane to really grasp how explosive the gold rush was and subsequently destructive.
It's crazy to see how much it does to the landscape.
Yeah, we're still dealing with it.
Well, we're talking all the way down to LA too.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Originally.
So wild.
Yeah.
Mother of all counties.
They needed that mineral, man. They needed that. It was insane for me because my town, they would do they do the craziest things. When I was growing up right when marijuana became unprohibited. Like it was just coming out of prohibition, and that's when my town immediately exploded, dude. People so you have Orville's right here. And then right up here, you have Berry Creek, Concal, and all these mountain-ish kind of towns, and just become mass grow operations, mass this, mass that. And so marijuana was always a big part of my life because of that. You know what I mean? I grew up my uncle being like, "Hey, Robert, you want to come in here and help me with something real quick?" And I go in there and he's having me make making stuff, making cold water hashes and all this crazy stuff, and that's why it affected me so much. That's why I became a smoker so early, is back when. That's why I'm moving away from it now, because I feel like I could dedicate more of my life to something else besides that. But that's I've been smoking since I was 13 because I've always been in the helping my family out, trying to make an end product,
Yeah,
there's a lot of correlation with growing around that kind of stuff, and I've seen it with a lot of my old friends in that area that smoked at 13, chewed at 12, things like that. Where I didn't do that. I had a very different mentality at that point. I never thought I'd
when I
smoke,
was
and
whenever I was really young, it was like when I did finally want to smoke, I was so scared to talk to my parents or like talk to my people about it that I was like, I went to my uncle and I was like, yo, my homeboy wants to smoke. Do you think we could get some from you? I told him that we could get it from you. And he smiled at me and then gave it to me and then told me not to tell my dad. And he was like, and then after that, he was like, hey, whenever I need you to come do this, I just need your help. I need you to trim this or bathe that or cold water that or do this. And I mean, that just started the sea of events that brought marijuana into my life. And then that was like a big part of my childhood was trying to live around a bunch of adults trying to make mass amounts of money off marijuana. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And like that was kind of what was fluctuated into my life. And then that ultimately went from there to like my family selling harder drugs, and then my dad went through the whole process of doing that. And then that kind of broke the family apart, and it's pretty gnarly, man. The situation is things that happen that come about in my life that where I'm like, even to this day, I'm like drugs. I tell my friends this all the time. Drugs still affect me and I don't even do them. You know what I mean? Because every day I have another family member because of their extensive long life living in drug uses and doing drugs that they're just dying off on me like slowly because of their past, even when they don't do them no more. The doctor finally broke into them and told them, hey, you're going to die if you keep doing this. And then they're like, cool, change of heart. They won't do it no more. And then they die because of the long-term lasting effects that happened with it,
Can I ask, was it more meth related or heroin or just everything?
It was meth.
Okay.
That was really big in my town.
Hard cycle.
Yeah, it was a big one. You ain't lying, brother. It's a whole thing. My sister's going through it now,
Yeah, mine struggled with heroin before in like 8 years. And she's having her third kid right now. And I hope, I hope that things are getting better in that mental battle, but I haven't been able to help in that. I've tried to do what I can do, but it's clear when someone's struggling with that level of intoxication.
Yes, sir.
It's a very dense situation. That's not, there's multiple levels to it.
It can grab you. It you don't know it, and then you're in it, and then it can be fast.
Well, on the drugs part, what I have to say is it's a loophole, and on that loophole, you lose a part of yourself, a part of your soul,
Yes, sir. Detaches from you as you get into the demons.
That's what makes it difficult to recover, because you're not the man you were before that,
It's definite. I wanted to put in too. I'm on a healing journey myself, Robert. Alcohol was my main struggle, but that's just the symptom. It's not really. I don't look at the drug as what caused the problem, but the problem was before, and then the drug was something that was reached towards to alleviate the problem. Or they're not even like calling it a problem. It was just
a response.
The response. It's something to be healed. And so the work is like he said, the work is deep, it's dense, it's layered, it's multidimensional, man. And I don't know what your personal struggle is with that exact drug, but I know with ADHD, the struggle to stay away from anything. Let's just say all drugs aside, just this thing, you know what I mean? Like that's a hard struggle. It's every day, man. And keep going. Your 30s are your most productive years of your life. And to hear a young man talking about the awareness of his life in such a way, dude, you got it, brother. You're on a great track.
I appreciate that. A big part of what I do is I lived like all my life. So like I grew up in the 13 and all the way up when my dad was in prison. This is how good my family was at hiding it when I was a kid. Now I've all come to these realizations as an adult, right? So I didn't know that they were doing that when I was a kid. Like I knew the mass weed production and doing all that was a thing, but I didn't know that my family was making drugs in a bathtub as well. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
I didn't know that. I grew up knowing that my family sold some weed and we were chilling. That was about it. You know what I mean? Like, that's all I really grew up knowing. I was just a normal kid, playing my video games. I had every video game I've ever wanted as a kid. But as an adult, like, I've always strived. Like, when I turned like 17 years old and I was in Louisiana, I come to the realization I used to argue with my mom and my sisters and just freak out on them and disrespect them over my father, because I would be like, no, he ain't doing that. He ain't doing this. He ain't doing that. I'm really trying to stand up for my father, and then he was doing that, he was doing that. He was I hate to say it, but I feel like my father was a big reason why that community went to shit too, because he was one of the bigger sellers. My family was a big seller in that town, so, and that's that I'm not proud of. It's not something that I think is an admirable, like, token on your chest. I don't think it is. I don't respect it. I don't respect nothing about really like hard drugs no more. I like marijuana, but that's like, it's something that has went through its turn and proved to be good versus these other hard drugs. Like, I don't like seeing my society in America or any other country having people folded over like zombies because they can't do nothing with their life, and like that or this because of their addiction. I feel like we have, as America, we could be putting money towards better things of that to be helping people get off of that, But
it's multifaceted.
It is.
And that was my big thing too growing up, was like, I didn't have no knowledge of like the meth business that my family was carrying. I come into understanding that as an adult. So I've always felt so bad about like freaking out and disrespecting my mother and trying to stand up for my father when I shouldn't have. I've already made my amends with her, saying sorry and whatnot, but like, it just adds to the journey, right? So like, as I grow up, I understand I won't be like that. I won't do that. If anything, I'm going to be I'm going to be a contributor to the community and not a deflator. You know what I mean? I'm not going to destroy my community. I'm going to build it up,
Completely understand that. I wanted to interlude here with something, or interject with something Jeff wanted to ask you. And he wanted to say that meth can grab you. He doesn't have a mic today, unfortunately, but I'll translate what he's saying. So how did you change the path you were on, Robert? Is what Jeff wants to really know. So
whenever I was 13 years old, I got arrested for marijuana and a fake gun at school because it was an airsoft gun, nothing powerful enough to hurt nobody, just enough to scare somebody if it got bad. And whenever I got caught doing that, I went on informal probation. Okay, so I go on informal. I'm basically unsupervised. I don't have to check in with nobody, nothing. And then, like I said, my mom one day stood up in that courtroom and said, "Hey, we're going to Louisiana and we'll see you there, honey." And the day that she did that is the best day, one of the best days of my life, because that is what ultimately changed my path going forward, because it took me out of the situation, all the friends that I had that were teaching me to do bad and do these things, and all my friends that are about to go out and become bigger friends with worser people, you know what I mean? Like, it all helped going forward because it plucked me out of, I'm going to say, a compliant situation where I knew I was good. I knew I was at home and I could walk on any street and it's not even a problem, to you don't even know where you're at now. You're in Louisiana, So now it really changed my forward looking on life, because when you move states so dramatically as a kid, you understand that nothing in that other state matters right now. You understand that like, as long as your family ain't passing away, that's my mentality as a child. So as long as my family ain't passing away and nothing bad's going on and the city ain't on fire, I'm chilling. I'm gonna come over here and I'm gonna do my thing and I'm gonna change. I'm going to try to be different than what my family's providing, because at first, as a kid in my hometown, I thought that was life, right? I figured I was either going to grow up to be a good person or be something of myself, or I was going to grow up to be in that game or be worse, and that's the one thing I could thank my mom about is like, thank you for plucking me from that situation and putting me into a newer one,
Basically change your mentality.
It changed my mentality because I went from thinking that I was the, like, the best person in the school to like the coolest person. Like, because when I was in school, I was like, I would help kids that were like, how do I say it? So like I had a bunch of kids that I knew throughout my school life where if they were getting picked on, I would help them. You know what I mean? That was the kind of guy I was. That's how my dad is. My dad doesn't like bullies, and neither do I. My dad was abused as a kid by his parents, my grandparents, and stuff like that. So my dad doesn't like bullies, so I picked that up from him. I went from being all of that to just putting my head into my desk about it. You know, like I just changed how I acted in general. Instead of skipping class, I was going to class. You know what I mean? And instead of, I may have not have been learning too much in that class because I was also not a very good student, but I was in class. I was not skipping class no more. You know what I mean? Like that was very early in anything in my life. I've never done anything in my life that was so detrimental. I've never been to prison. You know, I've gotten these realizations and mentality changes early enough to where I've completely taken those options off my table. You know, like I've never been like to a point where I've been pushed to where like, dude, I might go to prison in 3 days. You know, like I might be in trouble, or I might have to do this and get in trouble. Like I've always been able to pluck myself from that equation very well. And I feel like it really, like once we moved away from my family, I felt like my strength of will, my mentality, my protection, like the way I want to protect my family all went up. You know, like like all those senses were heightened, you know, like if that makes any sense.
Real quick,
Yeah, no, it totally does.
Just to pull that back to Jeff's question?
How did you change the path you were on? Yeah.
Or I think he was talking about getting away from the drug itself. He was asking, how did you escape that? Was that at 13 or was that later in life? Or did you never tango with the big
I still haven't escaped them, you know, because all my family down in Cali kind of still does it. You know, like my dad still does it. Stepmom still does it. It's even scary because addiction's so crazy that my stepmom does it. And then now that since she's been doing it since she was young, her son does it now. My 16-year-old stepbrother that 3 years ago, you know, wasn't even close to doing that. He used to take it and hide it from his mom because he didn't want her to do it. And then now he's doing it, you know?
Right.
It's sad.
Right.
It's like actually
Very
sad, you know, like it really hurts my feelings because that's like, I look at it because he's been in that town longer than I've been there my whole life. So like, I look at it like, how would I have ended up? Because people in my town's so small and plucked so far away from like bigger establishments of work to where work's a big thing. So like in Orville, it's either you go work at the rice mills for the season and you put rice into do our rice little, whatever you want to call it. I forget what it's called, the rice industry, or you do the food cannery, you know, and then other jobs like that, you're working at Walmart, you're basically struggling to make it, right? If my dad always had to drive like 3 hours to go to work when I was a kid before he started his ventures, you know. I remember when I was young having to sit in the car and ride in the car with my mom and dad all the way out to like Eureka so we could drop my dad off, you know, in the morning. Long drive, man.
Oh, that's some wild stuff.
What is it you're doing now, Robert, for work?
Right now, I have a couple things I do. So I do like DoorDash and Instacart when I can. My main job is a bio-ag company called Suterra LLC. And we make, do you guys know the pistachios, the wonderful company pistachios?
Yep.
Yeah.
We make the insecticide and pesticides for all their farms across into Thanos's area and all that. We send out our insecticides, kill agents, and sexual confusants out to all these farms, and that's my main job is making and quality controlling that packet and making sure that their orders get filled. And during the fire season, I work for the air attack team here in Redmond, Oregon. And we fill planes with fire retardant and send them to the fires as they're needed.
Wow,
very cool.
Yeah, and then I've also been learning technical analysis in the stock market for the past year as I've been doing these jobs, so I could try to get my family and my friends all that generational wealth we're hoping for.
Nice.
And then my plan with that is I trade options. So I don't put my money in there and I let it sit. I basically learn the technical analysis, learn the patterns, and learn the continuation and all these other things. That way I could see a move fixing to happen in the stock market, and then I put in a call or a put against it to see, and then I pluck out my money,
Yeah.
And so far it's been good. I've been doing it for I finally put in money and started doing it for like a week now, and I'm up like $124 in profit off of $100. So
Good
it's
for
not bad.
you. That's outstanding, man.
Yeah,
Right
So
on.
That's pretty good.
making the changes, trying to break generational chains.
sorry to interrupt, but Jeff says XRP, if that means anything to you.
XRP is pretty cool, but those are all things that people like to like. I could play an option within.
Robert's trying to day trade.
Yeah, so I do
Right?
day trading. So I trade those options, and I'm basically betting on if the stock goes up, down, or sideways.
And you're watching and making an intuitive decision of whether that's going to happen. That's rad, man. That's a big deal. But yeah, I'm with you on the XRP, buddy. Yay, XRP. But yeah, long term.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got buddies at work that are holding that. They're holding it for sure. But me and my buddies, we all just got trapped on that Mr. Beast coin. You guys heard of that one?
Yeah. You were funded into it?
Oh, I definitely fell into it. So like me and my buddies, we bought into it, and then it went up, and we caught it when it went up, and then out of nowhere it dropped. And we I lost like $50. No big deal,
Luckily. Oh man.
My buddy calls those tuition
why not
fees.
lose 50?
Yeah, tuition fees. It's
exactly. Go ahead.
Yeah, Thanos.
What I believe is that the crypto market is the most unstable market you can invest to. So better off doing that on the stock market,
100%. So that's the one thing I try to stay away from, because the erratic highs and lows that market perceives to be. And for me, I like the stock market. So I've made all my money this week off of Rivian, the electric vehicles.
Yeah.
So I was looking back at a chart, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, oh, okay, so this thing out of nowhere shoots up. It goes crazy. And the market only does two things. I have a mentor. His name's the Trading Geek on Facebook, and I'm sure other platforms, but he's a 22-year-old Asian guy. And he's retired his mom and dad. He's a multimillionaire at 22 years old, spent 7 years trading, only earned enough money during one of those years to retire his family. And it's the most recent year he's been doing it. So 7 years it took to retire his parents. I learned from him because he teaches me the discipline. He teaches me not how to be scared in the market, how to not take the trades so early, not how to not be scared when the price fluctuates, how to not panic sell, all these things. Because for me, I've been learning technical analysis for a little over a year. I've been sitting back reading candlesticks and patterns like nobody's business, you know what I mean? And now I'm finally starting to make some money. And my biggest thing is I'm always against myself. It's me versus me over anything. Like I'll panic sell before anything because I don't want to lose the profit. And then there's times where my ADHD is like, go get that money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then I lose money. Just the other day, I lost $25. But like you said, it's intuition fee, or it's tuition fees. You learn. I paid $25 to sit on the market for the day and understand what went wrong. And we're going to apply it to next week here tomorrow whenever I get in the stock market in the morning before I get to work. So for me, it was like it's the one thing that my ADHD grabs on, where it's like once I learn these patterns and all these things, I just can't unsee them, Totally. So it's like I'm going to use that as my advantage and my edge and try to make it to where hopefully I can become mad profitable. Like I just got off the phone with my buddy from Louisiana, and I was like, bro, give me like a few years and hopefully it'll be sooner, but hopefully I'll be on my way down to Louisiana with a laptop ready to bless you guys with the knowledge you need to make money for yourself. I was like, but that's what I'm aiming for, is I'm aiming to gain my knowledge and then distribute it amongst my people and my peers.
Jeff says he was doing a Terra Luna and he had $100 lesson.
Ooh, I wonder what Luna is. I don't want to be rude and pull my phone out, but that's
no. We'll discuss that later. We'll get more into that because we can also dive back into the stocks and talking more on this in a separate episode, because I don't want to steer clear of our whole story. But I do have a question related to this that I think would be good to ask now. And with the story that you've displayed to us so far, should more people be willing to network? And why, if anything, would you recommend this for others?
100%. I feel like people should be able to network, because without networking, you're just a lone wolf out here trying to make it off what you know. You know what I mean? With networking, I wouldn't have known what that was looking like if I didn't talk to Thanos today. You know what I mean? Like, that's networking. You know what I mean? Like, just simple little things like that. That's all networking. You're talking and learning off of everybody around you, not I know what I'm talking about. I know how to run this business. I know how to do this. You have to be willing to broaden your horizons to be able to progress in life. I feel, if I would just stay in my hometown, I probably would be just like a lot of people in my hometown. You know what I mean? Like, me moving out and being able to talk to other people from different countries, different states, and being able to talk with them and understand that life is different outside of that cluster of life that I felt was life. I feel like that's important, and it has a big dramatic thing to go with my story, is because without me talking to people and talking to people outside of my family, I wouldn't have learned much, because I learned off everyday people. I learned off of people like all of us on this panel. I learned off the janitor at my work. I learned off everybody. There's something new you can be taught every day, but you don't know who's going to deliver that new piece of information.
Well, and these two below me, Thanos and Sid, I met gaming. I mean,
that's awesome.
Elijah and I, we played Apex, and I heard his lows and his highs, and he heard my lows and my highs. We just started talking, and that was
right.
generally why we got closer. That's why he's here today, because we found a common ground to stand on, which is trying to improve the world's position on things and trying to improve ourselves along the way.
Without the video games and the networking, dude, you wouldn't have had that. You wouldn't have met this man. You know what I mean? Like, if
Absolutely.
you were just in your town and he was in his town, you wouldn't know. Like, imagine if gaming was only divided amongst your town.
Oh, cool.
So you would.
I'd be on single player all the time.
I don't have to imagine. I'm 43, bud. We used to have to party to play multiplayer.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, you get it. Like, that's why networking is important, man. It's important to be able to get outside your circle and get outside your comfort zone and go against reality and what time is these days. Like, you have to be able to go out there and speak to people. I struggle with it now. I'm like a recovering awkward person, dude. Like, I swear, that's the best way I can explain it, because growing, like, once we get into Louisiana, dude, like, it gets nuts. Like, it's just like, it's really like Louisiana. It's like I just opened up coming into Louisiana, and then out of nowhere we're like this again, and I'm back locked down, not wanting to express feelings and none of that, And that's the craziest thing for me in my life, is like how I go from these ups to ups and lows to lows,
No, and that is like part of the experience of life. It throws curveballs. It will challenge you to change, because you're always changing. We have medical bills, we have car problems that maybe add stress, and stress adds medical problems. There's aspects, if you let it get out of control, it will get out of control, and that has a lot to do with the mental landscape of how you're balancing disciplinary action and pleasure. Because that's what I want to roll into with you is there something like, how does discipline play a role within your daily goals?
Oh man, if I didn't have discipline, oh man, I probably wouldn't have anything, to be real. Like, I feel like discipline is probably one of the core bases of what makes a strong, morally strong man into what he is. You have to have discipline. You're not going to have one thing without the other. You can't have a lot of money without discipline. You're not going to have a good life and good family without discipline. You can't raise a man into a man without discipline. Like, as a man, I have to be disciplined to be checked. Like, I have to have, like, myself, when I go into I'm going to explain it partway into the market, because that's one of the more logical ways I can explain it, is if I go into the market and I let my feelings judge what I do versus what the graph is telling me and the charts are telling me, I'm going to lose money. I'm going to go in and think I need to put a put, and I'm going to should have put a call, and the next thing you know, I'm down $200. But with discipline, I felt like I had to discipline myself because it was like I was always faced with choices in life of what path is this going to make me go? You know, do I go down and smoke a big joint with my buddies for his birthday and go down to the football game and walk across town stoned as a 13-year-old? No, because that could get me in trouble, get me sent to my mom, and then next thing I got to deal with her crazy ass. You know what I mean? Yes, sir.
Yeah, what I wanted to say is that there's three things in life that you have to do as a person and respect to move forward, either for yourself or for other things, and that is discipline, respect, and honor. If you don't have one of those three, you can't move. Either be it a psychological thing or whatever, drugs. You want to get out of drugs,
No.
you gotta have discipline.
Yeah, it's big because growing up, having it around me and stuff like that, like it's easy to fall out of line. It's easy for a human, as a man, as a woman, to fall out of line out of what is true. It's easy to get into those things, into the bad areas.
Or economical growth, if you don't respect the hustle, you can't move forward.
Yeah, you can.
Excuse my English, by the way. I'm not a native. I'm trying my best.
No, you're actually translating the crazy Americans, into something that's relatable for the show. You're the secret to our success at Thanos.
No, I love that you threw in
outside perspective.
Honor the hustle.
Yeah.
Respect the hustle.
I love that you mentioned honor
Always
too.
respect.
I think honor is a huge thing to remember. Like there's things that we as humans like hold in esteem and hold that really important to us. And I think it's so important to make sure to appreciate the honor that we and others allot to those things that in our lives.
Indeed.
I feel like that's what my stepdad taught me. My like I always say this. My real dad taught me how to take care of your family, no matter what, and love your family. My stepdad taught me honor, honesty, faithfulness, loyalty, all those things. That's why that's why I've never damped on broken homes, is because I'm the product of a broken home. You know what I mean? So when people try to tell me they come from a broken home and this is why it's so hard, I tell them, well, I come from a broken home, but it's all about how you do your life. You don't let your past judge your future.
Yeah.
I was growing up, having to do switch off at parks and public places and CPS being there, and I was through all that. I've been around the block with those people. It's just insane. But it all goes into discipline and the strength of will and honor and all that. You want to be better than what your protege was or your past person was. You want to be better than these things.
Yeah, go for it, Athanos.
And also being down to earth.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, that's
because you get out of yourself if you're not down to earth. If you can't relate with being down to earth, you get out of yourself.
Right. Important to
understand. That makes sense. I'm trying to translate it as well as I can.
Yeah, you're not you if you can't come down to earth. You're not going to be you if you're above everybody else.
You can't understand things if you're not down to earth.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
With this show, even I have to accept. There's going to be organic times where there's other priorities in all of our lives. I am not steeped up in trying to produce something every week of my life because I have to. It's more so I'm disappointed when I can't because I want to. And that's a perspective that I've tried to pick up more because it's shifting that focus rather than, oh, look at me, poor me, I can't do this, to no, we're making steps to where we can be prepared to do this more. You can better respect the project. And that's something that I try to take from my failures of overstepping, overburdening myself. with a mental landscape that I'm not familiar with, and I expect something that I really don't have a good way of pacing for out of it. And that's something that sneaks up on everyone, and philosophy has helped me balance that throughout my life. But it's still a struggle, and I think anyone that takes this seriously, it isn't out there to say, oh, look at my philosophy, it's better than yours. It's, oh, look, this is something that has gotten me to where I am now, and I'm still learning how to improve upon it and how to better adapt it to the situation where I need to become the man I need to be, and or the person I need to be, whoever, whatever's going on in a person's life.
Yeah, I hear that you 100% on that. Respect on that too, because I feel like as men, that's something that we always go against. Is like, or at least myself. I don't want to speak for everybody, but if I don't finish a project, I think it's partial ADHD and partial being a man. Is if I don't get to finish my project by the end of the day, it drives me fucking insane. Or excuse my language, insane. It drives me insane. Even when like every day when we finish our job at my regular job, it's you finish on a full box. You don't finish off on no half box or no quarter box. You finish on a full box. And it just helps with the paperwork. It just buttons up very nice with the paperwork. But it just drives me insane whenever I can't finish these things or we set goals for ourselves, because since I've started at this company, me and my brother and the people that work with us in this room, we've set quite a few records, and whenever we get real close to that record and we're like, dude, it's a crunch, and then we don't get it, it's like, dang, dude, we didn't get the record. No record, no gift card, no appreciations, no nothing, and those kind of burden me too, because it's like, especially like a family too, like my sister is a good one. I wish I could do whatever I could do to get her off of drugs or try to help her journey get better of getting off those things. But like we were saying, it's like somebody has to want to get off those things, like I could sit there and throw money and help and try to help and watch her kids while she gets a night off finally, but it's never going to ultimately help her until she wants to help herself,
That's
and those are things.
Huge facts.
Those are the things that burden me though, because it's like, how do I help? Can I help?
Dennis, what's up?
Listen, you can't change a person if the person doesn't want to change.
That's the trap, right?
Yes, sir.
And also, what I've learned, like one of the biggest lessons I've learned in this life is that patience is virtue. It's a big virtue.
I will have to second, because I've had to have a lot of patience with myself. I think that's the biggest one with dealing with tech, especially. I try to help people online as best I can, but I'm involved with like 20 servers now. And if I were to help 20 Discord servers every day, I'd go nuts. I've had to accept that my role is not to be that fly on the wall everywhere. My role is to help bring more flies onto the wall. I create walls.
It makes sense.
So,
I create walls.
And I do it in real life.
Walls.
It's a funny coincidence of how mentalities shift with what you do and how you do things.
You can't do anything in a day. The Rome wasn't built in a day.
Yeah, Jeff, he's not talking because he's dealing with a Rome right now. He's moving his bricks, brick by brick.
Brick by brick. That's what it takes,
Yeah.
You gotta take your time.
I do have a question for you, Robert. Earlier, you talked on it that your stepdad was a big influence for you. Are there any other big forms of inspiring influences that really helped shift your mentality growing up?
Growing up, I was oh man, it's really hard because of the lineup I got. You know what I mean? Like, it's really hard to like say that my family inspired me, but really what inspired me the most growing up was seeing regular people do better than my family. You know what I mean? Like seeing my family take this path to try to make a quick buck versus the guy that's changing that tire over there, making his money consistently every week. You know what I mean? Like, that is a big turning point in my life, and is what seeing people like you don't have to take that route. You know, you can take this correct way of living, which we all do in society. We all have jobs, we all go to work, and then we all have side hustles. You know what I mean? Like we all have something going on. That's what inspired me the most. Was that's what inspired me not to be like my family too. Was seeing people like actually make a real dollar that didn't have the police maybe coming knocking at your door. You know, and then that's what kind of helped me drift away from the path that was probably etched out for me, you know, prior in my life, is just staying away from that and trying to be, let's get to 18 and let me start working, please. Like that's all I ever wanted to do as a kid was work, because my dad's always worked. My dad's always been a worker. Even before his big extents into the drug game, he was a big worker. You know, he would go do anything and everything to make money for us, and that was a big important thing. And then when I seen that switch, and then I stopped looking at my family because I didn't feel like I could trust them. So that's why I looked to other people like the mailman or all these other people as big inspirations of what real progress in life looks like. You know what I mean? And then that's kind of what shifted my mentality towards being different than my family as well.
Yeah, no.
I just wanted to point out real quick for contrast for you a story of my life, because you mentioned mailman, and I am a mailman. I also
love that, dude.
I also grow cannabis. And so I have those two paths in my life, and I have witnessed and viewed the chase of money in cannabis, or in, let's just say, in the drug world, or in the gray world, the black market world. And that same mentality can transfer to the normal life, you know, even as a mailman, as a stock trader, you know. So don't lose sight of that. That's an inner working to fix that mentality. And you're already doing it, you know, with respecting and honoring life, and, you know, and making the changes and being vigilant about what to do with your life. It's
yes, sir.
It really is perspective. You know, the saying money corrupts, you know, anything corrupts if you are corruptible. You know, make yourself solid, and you walk out in the world like a king. So
yeah, Thanos.
Two things I have to say about that. First of all, it might not be much when you're starting out, but it's honest work. It's honest work. And the second one is that the narcotics market, you know, is easy money. And easy money, you get it easy, you can lose it easy.
Yeah,
you're not lying.
Yeah,
addressing the easy money. That's good. That sounds like the trap that your parents were kind of chasing. Is once you've gotten easy money, now you're addicted to finding more easy money, and that there's the trap.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I've always been good at making friends, so at least when it comes to business connections, and growing up, just like towards the end of my high school, I had opportunities to, you know, sell narcotics, do different things, and, you know, make money, right? That's what some people were doing. They were, you know, renting with that money and doing all sorts of things, right? All good things. You know, they weren't bad people. Mm-hmm. They were just selling a bad thing. For them, it was just a transaction. But for me, it's like, that's a life commitment, man. And I'm not willing to walk a life that I don't want to walk myself. Mm-hmm. And I can't be a part of ruining someone else's mentality if what I'm trying to go after is building others up. Knowing like that, why would I work towards my end goal of trying to transition to a more positive society, you know, where we're not reliant on these harder substances to free us from our realities. Cocaine has always been one that gets me. I understand, you know, it's there's different aspects to it. People feel are organic in nature and okay, but I never chased after that personally, because in my mind, why do I need that dopamine rush when I can enjoy the things I'm enjoying, like camping or taking a hike, you know, and enjoying the nature around me. That kind of stuff was something I learned to value more, and it slowed me down. And that's the aspect to this day that I hold on to with it. I try not to be greedy either, because the earth is something we all share. So I may have some pretty rocks, but try to give them away when I can, because it's good nature to share and to enjoy with others. Exactly. It's a value to be instilled. To practice it regularly is empowering. It's little, but it does help boost that positive mentality, I feel.
You're all good, Thanos. Go ahead.
So what I want to say was I've seen people from my hometown that were into the narcotics business. They got like really expensive cars, houses, and all that. Well, I didn't have any of that. I didn't even have a car. I was trying to save up because the economy in Greece is not really good. When the basic salary is 800 euros and the rent is 600, you're gonna have to do a second job. You don't have a personal life, after that. What I saw in that was, as I told you guys, you get easy money, you lose it quickly. That guy is 5 feet below the ground right now because the big heads got him. I'm still standing and I have a simple car. Which is best?
That's a great way to frame that.
That's just a good quote, man. I like that.
It's
I'm
true.
standing and I have a simple car.
It's too true. Like, there were people I met that had gotten out of certain situations, and I actually went looking for someone that was selling to bikers, and he ended up doing some of the stash, and they found him in around Lake Almanor, and then his grandmother the same day in Orville got stabbed. So it's like there's things gnarly that happen, and he just came out of high school. He was probably 22, so he sold his life away for fast money, and he was doing something he knew well not to do. Those people still existed in that area. I didn't seek them, and I always knew to have a careful understanding of, don't get too curious, so to speak, about what you think is yours, because people live in other mentalities, and that could be a danger to your own. It could be a danger to your life if you're not careful.
100%. Me, when I was in school, like seeing I grew up watching my cousins sell, like they'll be like, my family was big into the marijuana business, so my cousins would just out of nowhere have a pound of marijuana and be like, I'm about to trade this for a truck. I was never into that idea, like me, when I seen them doing that, I was like, you know what? One day I went into this little discounted store and I found these jawbreakers they had the tahine and the stuff on them, the chili, whatever. I started selling those at school. I used to make so much money off selling snacks and candy at school. It was insane. As a kid, I had like a fat knot of cash as a kid for having this hustler mentality that my family kind of blessed me with. So I used to sell those candies. Dude. I used to make a lot of money doing that. But I was trying to always make a means to a dollar without being illegal. You know what I mean? And then the one time I acted out and tried to do something illegal, I get arrested for it, as a kid. Insane, and then from that day, it kind of told me, like, you need to do it different. You're not meant for being slick, and you're not meant for being shady. I'm not a shady individual. I'm not a slick individual. If I do something, I'm going to do it right in front of you. You know what I mean? I hate being sneaky. I feel like it takes way more work to make a lie than to be in your truth, So yeah, that was my whole thing. Was let's operate different than what your family's doing. If my family were stockbrokers and doing what I do now and they were just making it, then I probably would have followed in their footsteps.
I think you made good steps, man. I just had the other reality of religion. Religion ate at me for a long time, and it's still a battle that I respect people for trying to understand, but it's the people that don't try to understand that I don't like. The ones that actively dismiss other people's perspectives because their own has to be right. And that's a negative. It's just a negative. And Sid wanted to say something.
I was just wanted to comment on what you just said, where they want to understand versus the ones that don't, and they don't want to even hear your perspective. It's an insecure thing. If they were truly secure in their belief, they'd be open to hear yours. Otherwise, they want to override yours to get security in their belief.
No, I wholly agree. Yeah, Robert.
No, well, I was just agreeing
you
to
just
what he
agreed to
said.
you,
You
bro.
know?
He's like, yeah.
No, that was an
I'm like,
affirmative.
right there. I agree, though. It's very like that's something that I've always struggled with too, because being a closed off individual with my family in this game, and then once we get into Louisiana and I start explaining my stepdad and how he is, y'all are going to be like, wow, because it's like I went from being able to kind of maybe be a normal kid to now I have to fully close off and not. I didn't even like taking pictures like back when we was going through that motion. You know, I didn't like having friends over when we were going through the motion of Louisiana because like I was always trying to make sure the family was secure in what my stepdad was doing, you know, because my stepdad, like a little hindsight into the future, we're going to talk about how like my stepdad was a gang member, you know, like, and he spent a lot of time in prison and stuff. And I learned good things from him. I learned bad things from him. I learned what not to do and what to do, you know? So like, that's why I have a lot of respect and a lot of inspiration from that man, you know, is because even though he was doing all these things, he never once wished it on us, you know, or never once wanted us to follow into that, you know?
No, I had a stepdad who's since passed. Like he had a back condition where his spine was fusing into one bone, and it was something that he dealt with at 5 years old, you know. And he was on the streets at 7 years old with his sister that was 5 years old, and he had to figure it out. You know, I mean, he had intense stuff, and he wasn't obviously biological to me, but he did a lot of things that taught me to enjoy the moment, you know, and enjoy being yourself. And I think that's the part that that I value the most from it is, you know, this mentality of I could hold on to the bad moments where he's in intense pain and there's morphine being taken and there's different things that he's trying to supplement the pain with. That's just, it's innately going to end badly for us around because the nature of the dreams and whatnot. But remembering that that's a human, you know, that's a person that's just trying to live through the day. And at the end, like there's a lot to the story, but generally speaking, my mother and my stepdad didn't always get along, and he made a big apology towards the end. He finally, his eyes awoken, and like he realized how much of a path of destruction he led for a long time on people that he wanted to change, but there was no time. You know, his body was giving out. And so he passed away, unfortunately, like a month after that. So it was a very tough thing to see that mentorship bond that you form over time is very important. And even though I could have viewed it as a negative and how many times he abused my mom in situations, because there was abuse and I recognize that, but it's not the full story of it. You know, the full story is these were two people that loved each other and they dealt with their problems because they understood where they had come from. And that is important. It's understanding who you are, where you come from.
I agree. You know, and that's one thing that I always think about as I go forward is like how blessed am I to be able to foresee and get this knowledge that my parents probably, you know, if I want my dad to learn stocks, I'm going to have to teach it to him. My dad don't even use his cell phone like that. I don't have regular conversations with my father. My mom calls every once in a while, but like it's not regular. You know, I get more family vibes out of the vibes that I get from my people up here than I do from my family back home, because everybody, like you said, they're in their own lane doing their thing. We get busy. You know what I mean? Like that's how it is. We get busy and we forget to communicate with each other and let each other know how much we love each other. You know, but at the end of the day, we're all still here. That's one thing I think about as well, as like whenever I get to doing good and I hit some kind of accolade, like when I made my first $83 on the stock market, I was like, I probably wouldn't have been doing this today if these kind of things didn't happen to me. You know what I mean? Like I probably, if growing up in the middle class to underclass, you know, like I probably wouldn't want $1 so bad if I grew up in a house full of dollars, you know? If that makes sense.
That's a really good thing that you didn't grow with all that money with you, and you had to earn it, because now you can respect it and you can appreciate it. If you grew up with that, you couldn't.
Nope. We see that a lot up here. You know, you see a lot of kids and you can tell the difference between the one that has money and the one that don't. and that's something that we all could see, like it's a book that we've all read cover to cover. And and I completely agree with that, because I've been working since I was 17 years old. My stepdad gave me a choice. He said, "Hey, I'm going to give you your first big boy choice right here." He said, "Do you want to go back to school, or do you want to go work in the workforce and come work with me at the shop?" And I took the job. I went and took the job, and I worked the summer, and I was enjoying it. And then the end of summer comes, right? So we're 2 months down, and the summer comes, and I've been making $600 every 2 weeks as a 17-year-old. My life's all right. It's not good. It's not, I've lived under my family's house. I'm living it up. I have money to do whatever I want. So of course he was like, "Do you want to go back to school, or do you want to stay in the workforce?" And I was like, "I'm going to keep working." And I just haven't stopped since, and since then I've only paved my own way through my own money, like there's been times where I've went 6 months without a job, and there's days where I've been offered 7 jobs. You know what I mean? Like whenever I had to move to Colorado, dude, I went through 7 jobs in a week. It was so fast. It was the most craziest thing I've ever went through in my life. I didn't know which paycheck was coming next. I didn't know, because I had 7 jobs in a week. It was insane, and I ended up sticking with one, which ended up being the underground utility work, where I was putting pipes in for a new subdivision. And that was where I started in Colorado. You have to work, and you have to want to work to want to get that money. And to earn honestly is important to me. Like I want to earn as honest as I can, so no one could take it from me. Like Thanos was saying, the government could step in whenever they want when you're playing with fast money. Even with the marijuana business, dude, they could step in whenever they want and be like, "It's still federally illegal, man. I'm gonna need all your inventory." You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And then you're back at square one.
Yeah, I do things differently myself, so that's not. I don't deal with fast money. That's the thing.
Yeah,
it's slow progression. Yeah,
no,
it really is. It's the way to do anything. Move slow, move a little slower, move a little slower through it. You have more thought, and you're more grounded. You're honoring the process. You're having respect for it, just like Thanos was saying.
No, if you would like, next week, I'll see if I can't get my farmer friend from Berry Creek to come in.
Oh yeah, that's where my family's from, dude. That's where I lived for like my whole 8th grade year. I was on Berry Creek at my grandparents' house, and I didn't know this until I was an adult. But that house was solely put there for their empire, their little drug thing they was doing. Like I didn't know that until I was an adult, but I lived there for my whole 8th grade year, because I had got expelled out of every school in my districts, and every school in Orville wouldn't take me because I was just didn't have a dad, and I was disrespectful, and I had bad ADHD and didn't want to sit to work. That was my thing. They would be like, "Come on, Robert, sit down, man," and I'd be like, "No, I can't sit down."
I think, Chad's learned the art of sitting down finally, but you see that nod. He knows exactly where I'm going with this.
Sometimes my head worked better standing.
Yeah, it's a real ADHD thing, man. Like some people have it worse than others, in my opinion, from what I've seen. With the movie,
it definitely put a damper on my school.
It's a thing. And you know what? Like
you need it. You need it. It gets the juices flowing in the brain. It's a lot better than this or this.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing. It's the same thing. It's just the natural version of it.
No, exactly.
Don't be ashamed.
No, there's no
I
shame.
I stopped looking at it like a attention deficit disorder, and I looked at it like a hyper focusing disorder. So
true.
I look at it like everything I do, I hyper focus on it until it's either done or up. One or the other.
Well,
That's
let me think of something here to ask you, because I wanted to touch base on something with with your background as more rural side of things too. I mean, urban rural. Orville's a real cross. But what do you see as the direction for the grassroots movements of the world? And do you think rural communities should have more educational resources?
100%. I feel like education is very important, but I feel like if we're going to throw money into education and give all the resources to education, I feel like it should go towards the education, not the football team or any of these things that like I say, it's tried and true in every movie too. Like, they they put all the money towards the sports and all that, but they don't ever put it towards the academics. They don't ever get new books. They don't get new instruments. They don't get new nothing. You know what I mean? Growing up in my town, we didn't have nothing new. I mean, the band instrument I used to play trumpet, dude, and never was a brand new trumpet. Never once in my life throughout that whole time I was in band, never had a new trumpet, never was offered nothing new, you know, but the football team got new jerseys and stuff. You know, I feel like education and all, like, especially in smaller communities like that don't have big city funding, like let's say my town compared to Dallas Fort Worth, you know what I mean? Dallas Fort Worth is going to have more nicer stuff than Orville, California, you know what I mean? Just because we don't have the funding like that. Like every time we have a cookie sale, all the cookies come up missing. Like, you understand what I mean? Like, that's why I feel like it's important, but I feel like it needs to be delegated to the important things, you know, not things that allow people the leash to hang themselves, you know? I feel like it should be put in a tried and true, fail-safe processes to where, like, okay, that money goes to books, that money goes to chairs and pencils and helping the students throughout the year, blah, 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 blah. Not, we're going to get books and then we're going to get football jerseys, baseball jerseys, we're going to do this. You know, I feel like it could be delegated way more than what it's being delegated to, especially now at times the way that school is. You know, my nieces and nephews, dude, they go to school and they come back and I'm like, did you even learn anything today?
Yeah, no, the education system can be a bit of a frustration if, you know, these resources are limited. I definitely dealt with that in the Sierras. Just there was a lot of corruption, come to find, within the school board, and they just got caught this last year.
They're going to find it in any bureaucracy, right?
Yeah, exactly. And they think they should be paid more, so they just keep going up and up and up with the salaries until they were I think they're $1.5 million in debt or something.
Damn,
they really messed
and
up.
It's sad too, because
all the kids are going to suffer.
Exactly, that part. The future of America suffers because of somebody trying to make that quick buck.
Greedy. Chasing that money.
Apparently you're not getting credit for your
I think that's the bane of the human existence, the greed.
Well, it's part of the process though too. Like,
I don't know what that
I always try to remember that, like, if we didn't have it, we wouldn't have the push to strive for goodness. That's the reason for what we call evil, the darkness, is contrast. Otherwise, we'd just all be robots, automatons. So it is there. We want to wish we could pluck it out, but I don't know. Maybe that would be a downturn to pluck it out completely.
Now that I'm thinking about it, it does seem logical, though, because if you didn't have greed, you wouldn't have your failures that associate with greed. So you wouldn't learn from your failures.
There's also innovation that comes from greed. Innovation, it's, you know, it's pretty wild. We've advanced in a lot of ways because of greed. Not to be like, yay, greed, but like, let's all just be greedy. But
no, I mean, if there's an example to be had, and honestly, a country to have it, it's Greece. I mean, Greece has been at war with Greece for since Greece.
Since Greece.
Oh yeah. Tell me about that. If we were united from the past, we would be a superpower right now. But no, we gotta hate each other, you know?
It's crazy, man. I mean, look at how much technological innovations come out of the Mediterranean. You know, it's really, really blows my mind just the amount that these problems culminate within the history of humanity. It's not something that is new. It's more exposed than it ever was because of technology. And I think that's what makes people a little bit more uncomfortable, is just the levels of it that we see now are heightened. Because
we have more access to get it in front of our face nowadays. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. The overexposure. And then
it's easy to put it on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, that's why we try to value this show, because having these discussions and getting this type of rhetoric out there to bring people up into these conversations more. Like, we're not just talking on politics here. We're actually diving into the root and the core of what fundamentally affects people. You know, what's affected you in your story, and how our stories have affected us and to relating to yours. We all have a new perspective today because of what you shared, Robert. And
and I appreciate you guys listening. I feel like I know my ADHD is everywhere, but it's a good story, man. It's one that I feel like a lot of people have dealt with, but are afraid to say it, and I'm not afraid to say it. I'm not afraid to talk about the darkest times of my life as much as I'm very much willing to talk about the best parts of my life. You know what I mean? They both go hand in hand. If I didn't have the dark times, I wouldn't have the bright times, right?
Yep.
Brother, you have to wear them as badges. You have to wear them as badges.
Yes, sir. 100%.
They are your medals. You've earned them.
Yes, sir. I appreciate that.
That was something my dad used to say. He used to say, "Remember to wear your life on your sleeve." But I haven't said that in a long time. I haven't even thought of that in a long time.
That's a good one.
That is a good one.
That is a good one.
I'm gonna have to put some longer sleeves on.
Yeah.
Too much life. Down to the ankles. Life is big, and it's definitely, like you guys say, big curveballs, and it's going to go up and down, but it's all up to who we are to be better than what we were before, or who we want to be going forward. Like in me, I see myself literally just getting so good at this stock market. This is all I talk about these days. Is all I see is me being so good at this stock market stuff to where I'm able to make money hand over fist. And right now I'm almost to the point where I'm about to be trading my daily wage, a day, and hopefully soon after that, my monthly wage, and then soon after that, maybe I'll be on a flight going to teach my other people how to make this monthly wage. That's what I'm aiming for in life here, is to make wealth and then make it to where all me and my people could be free and do what we want and enjoy the American dream and be who we are. Because I feel like as people, we get lost in, being a straightforward person and like doing your thing to make money and trying to be and make life happen. But sometimes we have to re-grasp who we are and understand that we're doing this to be better than who we are or who we were,
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And then Jeff wanted to share real fast that he grew up with ADHD, and in the 70s, he was doing a lot of the same things. He thanks you for the confessions today.
Nah, dude, I appreciate you listening 100%. Because as a person with ADHD, my mind runs faster than the normal person. So I feel like, even if someone talks a little slow, I can't even really, it almost irritates me to listen to people who talk really slow, because it's like my mind's already past what you're about to tell me, So I find myself having to re-grasp myself and be like, hold up, you're running a little bit faster than the normal guy at 5 years.
Yeah, and then after you have that conversation with yourself in your head, you realize you lost track of what they were saying. Yeah.
That's gotta be made for me. I'm taking life slowly. I've learned to appreciate life again.
Robert, can I ask, have you looked into, and are you pursuing any paths for managing your ADHD and everything that comes along with that, all the trauma, the whole lifeline of it?
So I do, my idea of me working on it is all the self-reflection I get to do. So I do tons of self-reflection. I take time to myself to ask myself the simple like questions of life. What makes you happy, Robert? What makes you sad, Robert? What makes you, and it sucks because as a person, we almost don't even want to go down that hallway. You know what I mean? But you have to break yourself down and understand who you are as a person. And me growing up, I didn't know who I was, and still probably don't know fully who I am. I sit back and I go bring myself into my garage where I do my workouts, and I go for a walk was a big one. It was a big one for me during my workout journey. Whereas I would go for a walk and people would probably drive past me and be like, that fool is talking to himself. He's probably on drugs. But I'm asking myself the questions of life. What makes me sad? Okay, if I have a question like, oh, why did my dad not watch me do that backflip one time when I was a kid? I asked, why did that make me feel like that? Like, why this, why that? I ask myself why all the time, and I reflect on myself, because I feel like it's the only thing outside of working out and lifting weights that would help me push through those traumas and those things that I just can't talk to other people about. Like there's things that, you know, I'm not going to say I'm a big and tough guy, but I don't want to go to a therapist. You know, I don't want to pay someone something that I could get out into the world myself. I could go out on a walk and speak it into the atmosphere and it's gone and it's done. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it helps me push forward and push through versus handing someone $1 to write notes on me, you know, and when I could write notes on myself in my head, you know, as I let out these things that hurt my feelings or make me sad or make me feel lesser of a man or lesser of a person.
And that, you know, you can find all the modalities that you would be going for therapy anyways for free. It's all over the place. So,
well, yes, it's all perspective, right? But Thanos,
that's what I wanted to say. It's all about perspective. It's whatever works for you. If just a simple walk in the park works with you, do it. If the therapist works with you, do it. Jim, be my guest. You know?
Yep. That's all inner work, right? No matter what you're doing, it's on you. It's not an outer doing for somebody else viewing it, or even for you to look at it outwardly. It's inside you. You're doing that talk. You're doing that journey. It's really awesome.
I believe Corley. Like I agree with all of you guys on this.
It's huge.
The thing is, like, I feel like therapy for some people is learning how to find that courage to branch out on your own journey and to figure out how you're going to balance things into something that works for you. It's like finding the right diet, you know, that you like to eat versus what you need to eat. You know, you can't be eating that burger, cheesy, fried stuff all the time. So you gotta plan. It's like mental health. You gotta also plan that there's going to be days where you're not going to want to get up, but you need to get up because work calls. And, you know, it's changing that mentality quickly to, oh, well, I'm able to get up. You know, let's do that right now. I have 20 more years of able to get upness in me, you know, like.
That's discipline. Yeah. We're getting back to the big three, you know.
Yes, 100%. Sir. Big D, discipline. And that's what I feel too, is like you just said, you know, work's calling and life's at the door knocking. You know what I mean? So are you going to get up and take it today, or are you going to sit in this bed and, you know, sulk or like just take your day off? Because normally 9 times out of 10 when I take a day off, I hate the fact that I just took a day off, because I get halfway through my day and I'm like, well, this chilling was nice. I could have been making some money or been out here doing this, you know?
You need days off. You need to cool down. You don't want to burn yourself, okay?
And you will.
I can say that as a person that appreciates that, because you're European. If you're 24/7 on the mindset of, oh, I gotta hustle, I gotta earn money, all that, you know, you're starting to lose yourself. If you don't chill and appreciate some time for yourself, you're gonna get burned out. At least that's how I'm working. I don't know if it's subjective or objective, but yeah.
No, it's like a thing. I know how it goes. Of that, I've like worked on sort of an opposite end of that, of where like when I was living in my car, I was taking on different jobs and doing different things, and eventually, if I just wasn't careful enough, and I got wrapped up in this mentality that I was living to work, and I've
like a survival thing,
right? And to top it, you know, like what made it difficult was that my day job was also very difficult. It was just a very involved trade, and so it's been interesting for me to also try to appreciate days off, but also balancing my own motivation to, you know, make money and to further, or not even just to make money, but to further, you know, my own passions, like working on vehicles or working, or, you know, all these hobbies, and trying to make sure that I don't just spend that time just vegetating. Like that's what I don't quite want to do. I think it's important to sometimes do that, to like be honest with yourself. If I need to calm my mind for a moment so that I'm not as stressed, but then also having that, not get lost, having that motivation to be able to further your own passions, because I think that is very rewarding. And
Yeah,
one of those passions can be making money. Yeah, Thanos.
oh no, you go, Thanos.
What I wanted to say was that this life, guys, this life is too short. Okay, we have to appreciate it. We're just guests in this rock flowing through space. It's wild as it is. So if you're just on that mentality of always working to earn money, you're not better than a slave to the system.
100%. And
Yeah,
that's
I
why
agree.
I'm trying to get so good with the stocks, is because the stock market, you can make so much money on there just by, first off, getting your knowledge. The worst part about the stock market is learning the technical, the hardest thing that some people, they can't even understand what a candlestick could even mean, you know? And if I could get past the learning part and get to the point where I'm making money, then I could be free of working for somebody and I could just, like you say, enjoy life, you know, slide over there and come see Thanos or something, you know, like that's what I mean. It's like, you know, you don't go into the stock market to get money. You go in there to buy freedom. You know what I mean? That's what we're after here, right? That's what every American in the world is after. We're trying to make the most dollar we can so we could take a day off or take that break and not have to worry about the bills or what if a family needs something, you know?
Yeah.
Real fast, because Jeff said it too. Gardening connected him earlier, and with what he was doing, yeah. And he also said there's no days off during weed trimming season.
No, there's
never is. That's a rough sit for 6 to 8 hours.
I think it's too simplified to even call what we're trying to address days off. It's just more like being aware to take time for yourself mentally, physically, if need be, but making that time not, you know, the escape, the you know, all video game or all drinking or all even being stoned or whatever. There's some serious self repair and work, like you're talking about, Robert, asking the questions to yourself about your past and stuff. That's all part of that, because otherwise, we as Americans, especially, like Thanos is saying, this hustle that we're going for to find the free time is really just another drug chasing habit of we're running away from dealing with the inner work, and we're finding great relief in being successful and having big money and hanging out with friends and having the up good time, and we're avoiding our lows. And what happens with that is the lows always fucking come, and that's where we get some big pitfalls in our life. Whereas, you know, ride it out and have your lows, have that time where you go ahead and cry, go and feel like shit, go ahead and feel sad, because you know what, it's a valid feeling to have, because things happen and life happens, and life is full of hard times, as well as
I've went on walks before, man, and I've cried on them. You know, it's about letting it out. You got to revisit the trauma to get rid of the trauma.
Yes, sir.
Crying doesn't make you less of a man.
Never. No. One thing I try to express to all my buddies now is don't be afraid to do it. You know what I mean? You ain't got to do it in front of everybody, but you could definitely get some time to yourself and let your feelings fly, you know?
Yeah.
Not to interject too much, but Slochi is here. He has arrived.
It's Super Sport.
Yeah,
hello, everyone's ready for the late arrival.
Oh, you're fine, brother. Sorry, every time the Scottish accent gets me, man. That's the first sentence.
Oh, apologies, I do speak very fast.
The accent that got me the most was the Jamaican accent, dude. The Jamaican accent's insane.
Yeah,
they're big in my town, dude. Every time I hear from them, I'm like, I'd be smiling right in their face, laughing and all kind of stuff, and they're like, "What's up?" And I'm like, honestly, it's just so foreign and so different. It makes me laugh and smile. I was like, I just like, it's not even like I'm making fun of you. I love it, dude. I think it's great.
Yeah, so she's like, whatever, you guys, I'm out.
Raven, get on with it.
All right, time to dip.
It's too perfect. I love when things time out like that. But no, Slochi's a good friend. We have Sir Toenail. This is Sir Toenail's friend in Scotland as well. It's good to have you, and we're glad that you're here.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely, brother. I know you're in a little late, but Robert's just kind of gotten us into a philosophical discussion a little bit with life and our perspectives of, we're disciplined. We're going over something that Thanos here below me was talking on, which is discipline, honor, and respect. And those three core values keep coming up in our discussion. What would you say on those three?
Well, to me, that is something you can't actually teach people. It's something that's inbuilt. So if someone doesn't have that, I tend to try and distance myself as humanly possible, whether it's in work, life, family. If somebody's just there to tear you to pieces, just walk away. It's not worth it. In my life experience, it is so much easier just to, I can't change you. You can't change me. Let's just call it a day.
Yeah, no, that there's some power to be said in that, because
Surround yourself with people with like you said, that mentality. It builds.
Yeah, it is a big thing, and I know it's something to be said that if someone doesn't want to be willing to change, that you shouldn't waste your time trying to instill a change.
100%.
Well, they're likely to be at the same time trying to change you to be in their vibration, in their space.
That's the problem with being a compassionate person, is you can absorb yourself way too much, and then it becomes a toxic trait.
Empathy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's so gradual you don't know. That's the worst part.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Robert.
I feel like he said, lead a horse to water and then it drags you in. No, you ain't lying.
One thing I kind of like about those three that we're talking about as well is that they're all of them should be equally applied to yourself as an individual and to the people, and ideally to the people around you. You should treat all the people around you with honor and respect. And God, what was the first one again? I'm blanking.
Discipline.
Discipline in the sense of that, I think it is important to be honest with your friends and hold them to the standard that you wish to be held to, and to be honest with them if they're not. That's something that I'm trying to work with, and in general with navigating personal relations with, relationships with people. And then also, of course, applying those thoughts to yourself, regarding yourself with honor and regarding yourself with respect. Very important.
Something I heard someone say recently was, any relationship you enter into is an agreement to grow with each other. And part of that, that just hit really big for me, because it hit to the superficiality of a lot of past relationships, which were just to really just validate me as being someone who could be liked or loved. You know what I mean? And that's the backwards way of going at that. I wasn't honoring, respecting, or having discipline in myself when I was going at it that way.
Yeah, that's definitely makes a lot of sense for me too, because that's one of the things that I strive for. Like I've been telling you guys for this whole thing, is I'm trying to bring everybody that has done me right and that wants to see me win. I want to see them win just as equal, if not better than me. I've always said that. I've always told my buddies, even at my buddy's wedding, I urge you guys to pass me up in life. I want you guys to prosper higher than me. I want us to be equal, if not higher than you. I want you higher than me. You know what I mean? I want you to learn from me and take what I give you and just go for the stars. That way I'd much rather be like, I help this man become millionaires and all these kind of things, or help this dude understand what life is and made him really see perspective into what life is, versus that guy was only in my life a short amount of time and it didn't really make an impact. I learned how to make an impact in people's lives, whether it be good. Mostly, I always aim for the good side. Sometimes even some of my own buddies, they don't want to tell me some things or tell me a certain thing because they know how I view it. They know how I'm going to come at them, and it might not be the way they want to get it. They might want me to be all on their side, but sometimes it's not that way. Sometimes they're in the wrong. You know what I mean? Like I've had a specific reason, I got a buddy named Darren, and he told me that him and a girl had broken up over something as silly as like she didn't want to watch his kids while he went to work, and then I found out later that he didn't want to watch her kids, so she didn't want to watch his kids, and he didn't tell me all that because he probably he knew what I was going to say. If you can't expect her to watch yours, if you ain't willing to watch hers, Plain and simple. It doesn't matter how much of a dollar you bring into the household, man. If you're not willing to compromise with your partner and meet her halfway, like watch her kids while she goes to the grocery store, what makes you think she's going to want to watch yours when you go to work? And that's ultimately where they felt. And this would be the first time he probably ever going to hear that. You know what I mean? But
Right.
I'm going to say right now, I still love you, brother. You know what I mean? Fucking just be honest with me. You know what I mean?
No, real fast. Thanos said something too.
Yeah. Before I want to say that is that what's really important if you want to have those values, you've got to have the people close to you that respect those values and have those values as well. Because we have a saying: "Show me your friend, so I can identify you." It's not exactly like that, but you get the point.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I sure do.
Show me your friends, so I can see who you are. Yeah.
See who you are. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. That's a big thing too,
Yeah, we
because
got some good friends.
No, and that goes back to what you were saying, Slunky.
Yeah, it really does. Yeah, I was thinking a similar one. Fly with the crows, shot with the crows, though.
Fly with the crows, get shot with the crows. Is that what the saying was?
That's what it sounded like.
Not the Scottish equivalent of it, yeah. When you surround yourself with a certain type of people, that's how you are. That's how you're looked upon.
Yeah. Yeah, like birds of a feather flock together. Yeah, Robert.
They I don't know. That's a big thing, is like you always want to position yourself around who you want to be. Like you don't want to be a millionaire hanging around with the, like we say, the gray part of society or the underdog part of society. That's not how you're going to become a millionaire. That's how you're going to end up in prison or dead, like Thanos was saying, And and a big thing is like, once I realized that, like, sometimes the people that you need to be around are the people that are around you right now. You just need to help them become better people if they're willing to accept that, that helping. They're not going to want to be helped if they're not going to want to be helped, right? And they're not going to take the help. So like if all my friends, like I have a bunch of buddies and I have one buddy that's not receptive to what we're all trying to do as a group, then I'm going to be like, I'm going to ask him if this is a way that we're all trying to move. Do you want to become prosperous in this way with us? And that's, in a lot of them, they're always with the progression. In my friend group, if I find a way of doing something that I like, or that I think is a good way to make us all money or make us all happier in some way, shape, or form, whether it be a hike or getting into the stock market, I'm going to present that to my group. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to present that to my people and be like, y'all want to make this change and go this way and try to do this? Or hey, do you guys want to take Sunday off and just go for a hike and just like reset our minds? Like if there's a way to make it, like relieve the stress off the group, or like to help people change into being better people, you should be offering that, like for me, if I tell all my buddies, I just had them over for stock talk on last Sunday, and I basically learned a bunch of new material for the stock market, and I had them over and I just brought them up to speed. Hey, look, here's what I learned. These are the things I learned. Now look, you don't have to go do these things. Let me be the guinea pig. I'm going to go ahead and use my mind and do my thing. And when you guys see me start producing results, I'll bring you up to speed again and we'll get you on producing results. You know what I mean? But like, that's my thing, is I'm taking the first steps towards stock marketing for my friends, because I'm willing to take the risk where they're not trying to jump, and because in options trading, you lose a lot of money really quick and you can make a lot of money really quick, depending on how well you execute your plan, and I know it's a fearful thing, especially for us, like me not having money, always doing the paycheck to paycheck thing. That's the one thing we're trying to get out of, is having to do that, and whenever I bring, like, that's why I'm glad I got very receptive friends, they're all like, yeah, dude, we love what you're doing. We think it's a great idea and we're right behind you with it. That's the friend group you really need. You need the support, as well as the people that hold you to that standard, like how you guys were talking about. Like, if you demand respect and then you don't hold nobody to it, you're not in the right. I would call it being in the red for the day. You're not really doing well. You need to, if you're going to hold people to a standard, you have to be that standard.
For sure.
And that's a thing that I go through life too, is understanding is sometimes I hold people to crazy expectations. That's part way of my ADHD and the part way how I view respect and honesty and honor, and then, work ethic, essentially, if we're going to talk about work. Like, if I'm over here busting my rump to make sure that every little project gets done, I would hope that the lower man on the totem pole is right behind me doing the same thing.
What I wanted to say was, in order to have that mutual growth with your circle of either friends, family, all that, don't be fearful to push away some people.
Yes, sir.
They don't want to change, and not because you tell them, because you see something in them that needs changing, because it's bad for them. I believe it's gonna drag you down if you go down that path. If you try to change some people and they don't want to change, even if that's your best friend that you know from elementary school or a family member,
Yep.
Yeah, I think an important thing to add about that is that because I think there is that important duality between going an extra mile to help someone, and then that challenge of when they don't want to be helped, but that what they're doing is harmful or hurtful. And I think one of the important things that helps so many people, it's helped me, it's helped lots of people around me, is just remembering that even if we can't force something to happen, remembering to act with love can help that person see that that not just that they're loved, but even just knowing that people care, and knowing that there's that effort, and remembering to to love each other in our struggle, I think is like the important takeaway if someone is struggling with someone who is difficult to reach or difficult to help. Of that love, even just in general, can go a long way to somebody in that position.
We're circling on topic. Let's find a new one.
All right, let's do it.
There's only one thing I do want to add personally
Yes, sir.
to that discussion. The 4 values of Stoicism that they go over are wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. And I think the reason I'm mentioning this is courage is one that we haven't touched on. And that's another aspect I would say is pretty vital in that mix. Is you have to be assertive to want to change, and that takes a lot of discipline. It takes a lot of patience and all these other things. But that was just something I wanted to add, is if anyone's looking into that concept more and they want to further that concept, I would recommend looking into Stoicism. So it talks.
Stoicism is huge.
It was a good one to
I
add,
agree.
for sure.
Your near-death experience. This sounds like a very, very exciting change of events.
I told you in chat about it. It was the river experience on Feather River.
That's right.
Pretty gnarly little experience, dude. Usually I don't really go against my gut. You know what I mean? I typically ride that instinct out. So one day I had been on this workout journey, and I'm way fitter than I am now. I'm probably like 245. I'm like almost 300 pounds now. So I had went through a big process. It's very important information for later. So I'm going, me and my cousins and my family, we were all deciding, hey, it's the first week of summer. On the calendar, it says first day of summer. Let's go out and let's go float the river. Okay, so my river in my town is called Feather River, and it literally goes all the way down to LA, and this river has taken so many lives just because it's a rough river. It has undertows. It's just rough ordeal. So me and my family we're about to get in these little like, not even anything secure. Like the kids and the old ladies, they're all in the little inflatable canoe. Me and a few others were in like the little donuts, right? We're just floating down the river with our feet in the water. And during this time, we were getting the big winter runoff from the dam. So like all the cold water from the mountain, everything was flowing through the water at this time. We didn't know that. We stepped in the water and we were like, dang, it's cold, but it's always been cold, but today it's colder. And I set my butt down in that tube, dude, and I was like, I was like, hey, y'all, my gut says this ain't a good idea. Right? They were like, Robert, just stop tripping, just get in the thing, right? And I'm like, you know what? Y'all are family, but we're going to go against the gut. I get in the tube. We start floating our little way down river, and we're chilling. And now the river starts doing this is a river. This should not have waves. You know what I mean? And we're going down the way. I see my cousin. They had went ahead of us a little bit. I guess it got a little bit quicker. So I see my cousin and her boyfriend, they're stuck on a tree ahead of me, right? And their floaties like flipped up into the tree. So I'm like, I'm coming, y'all. Robert's coming to save you guys, right? And I'm having a good spirit about it. We're out there, we're smoking, having fun, and I'm like, okay. And as I get closer, I see them. They're like, they're starting to yell at me. I thought they were yelling to come get them. They were yelling, telling me to go that way, get out of here, go. Right. And then I just noticed what they were saying is now I'm right there up on them and I see a tree coming. I said, I'm coming to save you guys. And the water launched me right into the tree. And I thought I was going to grab it. Like I was going to bear hug the tree. And I mean, my face hit that tree. I went straight underwater, and it was insane. Single-handedly scariest thing in my life. Cause that as soon as that happened, I thought about how many people die on this river.
Oh yeah.
And think about like underwater. Yeah, God.
Yeah. Oh, I'm all the way underwater. Yeah. And I'm like 5
bonk to the head.
I'm all the way under. And I get scared. So I immediately reach out and I grab a branch. Right. And I grab the branch. And immediately as soon as I grab it, the water's going so crazy, the branch snaps. Okay. And then the branch snaps. So I plant my feet and I shoot out the water. Boom. I'm out the water now. So as soon as I jump, I open my eyes and I'm still like, can't see nothing, but I reach over and I grab another branch. Because right now there's so much water flowing that all the trees are laid over sideways like that. And they were letting out like 600 cubic feet a second or something like that of water out the dam. And now I'm stuck. I'm sitting here and my arms like dragging down this tree branch. Like the water is so powerful, man. It's like literally pulling my hand like this as I go down. And my cousin's right across on a little funnel. So there's like, here's my tree, here's my cousin's tree, and then right here's like a little funnel, and the water's just like cruising through this. It's going really, really fast. So I'm like, Larissa, I'm gonna pull myself forward as much as I can, and I'm gonna jump in front of your tree, but I'm gonna grab your tree, and then we're gonna secure together, okay? Because now my fight or flight's all in. My adrenaline's dumping, and I know we're in danger. Like I know we're in danger. So I do that. I climb myself forward. I make myself forward, and then I jump. I jump right in front of everything, immediately back underwater. Boom, I'm back underwater. And then I plant my feet, and I fly right back out the water, and I grab her tree. Now I'm holding her tree like this, but I'm standing as a wall to the water. So I'm standing like this. So 15-ish minutes go by. I'm sitting here like panicking. I don't know what to do now, And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, I take my shirt off. I'm trying to like whip my shirt around the tree across that I just jumped from to try to maybe pull it closer so she could bridge over and get into the tree, because where the tree is laid over, it's like calmer water right there because it's not being pushed in just a one fluid motion. It's like being stagnated into that tree, And so like my goal is to get us to that tree. That goal did not ever get reached. You know what I mean? So we're hanging out, and it's been like an hour and a half. I'm sitting here, and I went from right here, like standing with my body like as a wall to the water, to where I turned myself sideways. And my brother's stuck in the tree way ahead of us. The tree I hit, the one right behind it, my brother's in it, but everybody else is secure. The only ones that are not secure are me and my cousin Larissa. And we're standing there, and I look behind us, and I could see the blackberry bushes, dude. I could see the blackberry bushes. I could see everything peeking out of the top of the water. You know what I mean? And it's bad because this section of water has claimed so many lives throughout my life, just from people like getting in the undertow and then get lodged into a tree. Like their body will go like this into the tree, and then they can't get out, or they get into those blackberry bushes and they get stuck, and then they drown. So I'm in there, and we're hanging out, and I'm telling everybody at this point, my adrenaline has come down. It's less panicky. And I'm like, hey, y'all, look behind us. Look for something to grab if you have to go. If you fall off your tree or something happens, your tree falls over, you know where to grab. You know what to jump out and grab or whatever. So they do the thing, and then it took them 2.5 hours for this for the rescue team to come save us. And it's kind of cool because when I was telling these guys the story, we actually caught common ground because Chad was on rescue team. And he knows how scary those situations could be, having to go save some people off the water. And
oh, yeah.
So we're sitting here, and at this point, we're letting out 600 and something, gallons a minute. So that means that they're docking downriver to come upriver to come get us from on their sheriff boat. It takes them 2 hours to get there. You know, it takes them 2 hours for them to come get us. And honestly, it was kind of funny because out of all that stuff, I thought we were going to get a helicopter ride out of there because I seen the helicopter come over, and I had yelled so loud. I was like, y'all, we're going to be so famous. I was like, the helicopter's coming. We're going to get a ride out of here. And because it was moving so fast, but they ended up bringing the boat down and almost sunk me down way deeper because they had to they were putting the boat in full throttle trying to push past us, you know, and it was a whole scary situation because like my cousin, she's holding on and I'm watching her legs. Like I'm standing behind her and she's like a little higher inside of the tree that we're standing in. And I could see her legs go from white to red, dude, from like middle of the knee down from hypothermia. So I watched her skin tone change from her regular skin tone down to red, you know, and that scared me. And then I looked down at my stomach and I'm wading in like this high water. So from like down here down, I was red from it. And like, I remember wiggling my toes and then I could only feel like these two toes when I did like that. So I'd only feel like these 2 or 3 toes. And that was a super scary situation, man, to be in. So the fire department finally shows up, and this tree that I've been holding has been my lifeline for 2 hours. This thing has kept me alive, this one tree. So when the fire dude shows up and he's like, I'm going to need you to let go of the tree, sir. I was like, excuse me? I was like, you want me to do what? I was like, you sure? I was like, yeah, I know you sure, you know? And he's like, no, look over your shoulder. He's like, you see my buddy down there? He's like, my buddy down there, he's going to catch you as soon as you let go. He's like, they had already had me trying to put on the vest and stuff, like the water vest. And dude, I jumped into that water. I was so scared, y'all. I was like, beyond horrified because I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know if the water would change and this dude couldn't grab me or what. But he ended up snatching my big self out that water, and they put me in that tree, and we're making our way, and I'm about to get inside the boat, and I was like, dude, I've been working out for 8 months. I was like, these dudes are going to see me, and they're going to think I'm all weak and stuff. I'm about to lift myself into this boat. And then I was so hypothermic that my muscles gave out the second I tried to push up. And insane. It was a wild, like 4-hour ride, you know, because it took them 2 hours, but we were on the water for a minute. But it was, oh man, just a gnarly ordeal to be rescued off the water, you know. And afterwards, like I waited a few days, but I was out on another walk doing some self-reflection, and I went back to that spot and paid homage to to what almost got me, you know, because it was very close. That was the one time in my life where I felt like it was going to happen, you know.
Yeah,
it's a huge event right there. Like everybody was just, I remember coming out of it, and then because at first there was a bunch of trees around us, so I can't see nothing. It's just me and my cousins and my family in this water in these trees, you know, and then coming out and then seeing like half the community like up across the levee just watching and wondering what's going to happen. Like it was horrifying. It was a big humbling experience in my life, you know.
Being in that cold current is depleting. I mean, a lot of people don't realize just how cold that water is.
It's rough, man. I had just did like 18 miles the day before when I was working out. I had just did 18 miles walking, and I had the biggest blister like right here on my foot. And then that water was pushing so bad, it pushed my blister back to here. And it was pretty hard. Just because the water was rushing like that, it popped the blister and it opened it. It pushed it all the way back. I couldn't believe it. Yeah. You know,
in relation to everything you've talked on, what is something in Louisiana that stuck out to you when you first moved there? What part of the culture was a shock to you?
The food, dude.
Oh, the food, huh?
There's something about that food. There is something about that food that just it brings love in your heart, you know? And but seriously, what stuck out to me over in Louisiana was like Louisiana was a big thing for me because it gave me a 15-year period where I learned how to be a man. You know, like I learned how to be a man in Louisiana. I was so misguided and didn't know what to do in California that, you know, like family wasn't family in California. You know, it was family that was there when you needed them, or family or not when you needed them. But if somebody died, that's when my family gets together. You know what I mean? That's sad. You know, in Louisiana, That's where I learned like all my core things like honesty, discipline, honor, all these things. I learned all those in Louisiana. Like I learned like that was when I was 15 years old. I learned all that stuff in Louisiana, and it just I don't know. I think what stuck out to me the most in Louisiana was the hospitality. The fact that people you don't even know will wave to you through the window. You'll see that every time you pass somebody up in a car, they're always waving or chucking the deuces to you or whatever, and you don't even know that person. That's just hospitality. That's what being a kind human is. And that's kind of where I get how I treat people. I treat people with that hospitality. Like I have cookouts at my house all the time. I just made gumbo the other night.
Nice, man. Oh, I've been trying to. I try to remember that. That's why I try to wave to people. It keeps you calm too. Hey, we're all trying to travel on the roadways. Yeah, there's some bad drivers though. I'm not gonna lie. It's
crazy too because in California, I've lived all kind of places. So like in Colorado, I didn't see that. I didn't see that in California. I've only seen that kind of hospitality down in the southern states. I've only seen that kind of humanism down in the southern states. Where it's like we're all on our little commute, but it's still cool to let the next person pass and that hey, what's up? Or like just like the hospitality is the big thing that stood out was how much people are much more willing to care about the person next to them.
No, I like it. Is there any questions that you guys have to drop on Robert's story here?
More like Louisiana, because I'm not familiar with the place. Is it like a close community?
So Louisiana is one of our 50 states.
Oh, okay. So it's a state.
It's if you look at Texas, it's that state that's sorry, I'm in the wrong place. It's to the right of it on the bottom by the Gulf of Mexico, Gulf of America, whatever it is.
Very wet. It
looks like a
southern culture.
Wait, hold on, Chad. You had an audio glitch.
Whoa.
It just said all your audio in like one hyper sentence. Okay. Yeah,
turned into the flash.
It's still doing it.
Oh no. I think he's catching up. Hold on.
Do something cool that the flash would do.
Try it now, Chad.
Like the whole state is like that? Because in Europe terms, that's like a whole country. That's wild.
So Louisiana's
so like the whole South in general, is very hospitality. It's very, we call it Southern hospitality because there's nothing it, and you'll never, you know what I mean? You'll never really witness anything like it. Like I can make a friend today and he could bring me to his house and his family's going to treat me like their family. They're going to make me a plate with dinner and they're going to treat me like family, like I'm one of their own, and that's one thing that stood out to me about that area is that really showed me because living from California, in California, we're very protective over our energy. We're very protective over who we hang out with. We're very protective over everything. You know what I mean? So for me going over there from being like a kid that was like, I have these 3 friends and that's it. It just opened my mind dramatically. Yeah, see, it looks like a big boot. It looks like a big old boot.
It kind of does.
Yeah, it does, actually. I see
It's like a foot with green. Hella bad game.
Yeah, it's like coming in the cankles.
If you look at if you look at like a backed up piece of the whole map, that Louisiana and the one above it and the one above it and the one above it, they all look like a dude with a pan in his hand.
That's funny.
I'm not lying. Funny. You'll never unsee it, dude. You'll never unsee it.
Man.
Italy looks like a boot as well if you've seen it.
Let's see. U.S. map. Midwest.
You guys are never going to unsee this. Watch.
That's like middle. Let's do middle states. There we go.
I think I've seen this before.
There we go.
When I seen this as a kid, I never unsaw it. Yeah, look at it. Look Louisiana and then follow it up all the way to the top one. And you can see the dude's face, his chest, his legs, and then the boot on the bottom.
Oh my God.
Oh, there we go. I can zoom in with this now. That's cool. Yeah, look at that.
Isn't that wild?
Oh, wow. That's actually crazy.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy.
Oh, that's too funny.
The whole southern area, they're really their hospitality is insane. Like you don't find really it like nowhere else, and that's something that stood out to me there. And then the values are kind of different over there, So like in California, I'm so used to being like lone wolfing it. In Louisiana, it's all about camaraderie and like being together and enjoying things together. Like my family in general, they've never done this, but in Louisiana, every October 31st, we get together and do a pig roast. Where we roast a whole pig for 24 hours and then feed the family. You know what I mean? And that's something that we do. I don't do that in California or any other place I've ever been to.
Yeah, it's just different down there.
Love it, dude. I love Louisiana. It's one of the best places.
Well, is there anything in Louisiana that you want to know more about, Thanos?
Well, I'm a big food slave, so I'm gonna say the food.
That's
I love food from other countries.
I love that, dude. They Louisiana, I feel like it has its own type of food in and out of itself. So like over there, we do like crawfish, étouffées, gumbos, stews. They call them sauce piquants. I don't know if that, but it's basically like we eat everything. I'll eat a turtle. I'll eat a squirrel. You know what I mean? I'll show you how to make the most tender squirrel you've ever eaten in your life. You know what I mean? Like, but we have the most. Like, it's highly diverse. You know what I mean? Like the things we do and the things we eat. Like I've seen people eat raccoon. I personally have not eaten raccoon, but I've eaten big old alligator gar. I've eaten all kinds of things. Like the first meal I had going to Louisiana was alligator nuggets, like fried alligator.
That sounds like a Florida thing.
It tastes like chicken.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. I've never had. Apparently, Jeff's had alligator on pizza. That's a fun fact.
Hey, I don't disclaim it. It's such like chicken. It's insane. Like the amount, like it's a white meat and it's just like chicken. It's very lean and it's delicious. Like I've seen it done a few ways. I've seen it to where they leave the skin on the head and then they put it on the grill, and then it's like fully seasoned. I've seen it that way. I've seen it bacon wrapped on the grill, whole alligator, the like tail, feet, and all.
That's a lot of bacon.
Yeah, that is a lot of bacon. My Lord.
Whoa.
Yeah. That's getting extra into it. But like, dude, when you see that whole alligator just on the grill and then it comes off beautifully cooked and then it's just delicious all the way through, there ain't nothing like it. And then just having everybody pick into it, like crawfish boils. Crawfish boils are a big family thing. I remember I told y'all I was going to have a crawfish boil. That's coming up soon, and I'm going to invite you guys. They,
yeah, man.
Yeah, they do.
Come on, fly over.
We'll get like, yeah, dude.
Where are you at now?
35 pounds of crawfish and with boiler.
Are you in Louisiana right now? He's in Cali.
No, I'm in Oregon now.
Oh, you're
I'm
in
Oregon now.
Okay.
Yes, sir. I came up here to be a tree climber at first. I was climbing trees for work, and I'm scared of heights. But I climbing trees for work and cutting trees, and then switched over to the bio-ag company whenever the tree company just didn't have the work to sustain the life,
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I was going to invite Caleb on. He's been on the show before, but he is an arborist. So he was doing that kind of work in Santa Cruz area. Yeah, it's scary work to be cutting those trees at a height. I can't do it. Yeah,
the thing that scared me the most about it was once I got over being scared of my like all the gear that I have on me, because they have a term for it. It's called gear fear, right? It's where you don't trust the stuff that you're getting to keep you safe.
Yeah.
Right. So like for me, I'm almost 300 pounds. I don't trust a piece of metal this big to keep me in a tree 100 feet up. I feel like overall weight distribution, this is going to snap this piece of metal weld off because hopefully somebody welded it correctly to my boot, But that's like, it's weird because once I got over the gear fear, it was still like, I don't know what's in the middle of that tree. I don't know if that tree's rotted out from the core. I don't know if it's solid all the way to the core. I just don't,
No, that makes sense. And Jeff says, way to address your fears.
That's how I've done it a lot over my years of work, because when I was working demolition back in Colorado, I'm still scared of heights. Like I'm horrified of heights, dude. I'm a big guy. I do not like gravity. Gravity do not like me, And
Yeah.
for me, if I wanted to get over something, I would go do it as a form of work, right? So like when I was doing demolition, I was scared of heights. So what I do, I asked to be in the boom. Let me go up. Let me operate the boom. Let me go up there and just start taking care of business because me working is going to help me get over the fear. I'm going to forget I'm up there, and then it's going to help, So I would do that, and then I used to be scared of social, right? To be social with people, coming from the life I come from and stuff. I used to get scared from that, because growing up in my life, I understand that I can't just bring people to my house because they may see some things they don't need to see, and then they might go out and tell somebody, and now we have heat, right? Like, so I was very protective over my family over in that area. But like when I was having troubles with being a social person, like I couldn't get out there and talk to somebody without stuttering or being scared of what they may or may not say. I went and got a job at a casino being security, talking to people every 10 seconds, and then that ultimately brought it out of me, and that helped a lot. I've worked at a few casinos just to regain, being able to be social like that because I fall in and out of it because I feel like I'm an ambivert. So like if there's an there's introvert, extrovert, and then there's ambivert. Okay, so like ambivert's the middle, the beautiful middle of in between. So
Right.
Ambivert will chameleonize how they act to make to these others as well as to make the day, or how do I say it? It's the weirdest thing. I learned it like months ago. We do a lot to like, how do I say this? Where it sounds smart and not ADHD. Like let's say an extrovert or an introvert, one of them will be open to conversation, the other one won't, right?
Yeah.
Me, I'm an ambivert. I'm open to it, and I'm going to give you all the energy I can towards it, but I'm going to need to recharge my battery.
Yeah, you're an introverted extrovert, kind of like I am.
Exactly. That's called
that's
ambivert.
what I've always referred to it. Ambivert. That's very interesting. It's the first
I've never heard that term.
Yeah, me neither.
I learned it because another way I deal with, like, I wasn't very psychologically strong, like as far as being able to understand when somebody's trying to get over on me, or if, let's say it like this, I could go to a bar and not know if a girl is looking at me over there and know that she likes me. I don't know that, I don't see those signs and it doesn't click up here. I'm worried about everything else. Right. So in order to remedy that, I watch a lot of podcasts on body behavior, psychology, and I read psychology books. You know what I mean? And that helps me understand intention and all the other things that go into the psychological things that I don't understand still,
That's good, man.
No, and I think that's actually like a great way to transition into what we're going to talk on next, but finish out on that.
But that was my whole thing, is if I wanted to learn something, I would go get a job doing it, or I would self-learn it. You know what I mean? I would find a way to self-learn that. So like with psychology, I couldn't go get a job being a psychologist, obviously. So what I did is I bought books. I bought some books and I just put my head in the books for a while. And I'm not a very strong reader. I'm the kind of guy I have to read a page 4 times just to understand it. Even when I was reading The Art of War and all these other books, 4 times it takes me to read a page before I actually could grasp and resonate into the words. It was big, like if I wanted to learn something, if I wanted to be not scared of heights, I went and got a job where I had to be put in heights. If I wanted to learn how to communicate with people on a very professional level, I went and got a job working at the casino being security where hey, can I check your ID? Hey, can I get you soda, coffee, water, anything you need? You know what I mean? And those are what helped open me up to a point where I could speak to people and I could not be worried about what they say or worried about this. These are all things that I missed out on learning as a child. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Sounds like hypervigilance from childhood. When you're in the social scenes, you're scanning for safety, not for the girl being interested in you.
Yeah. And that's one thing I wanted to say is, typically when I go out, it's either I'm eagle eye over the whole party or I'm having a great time. You know what I mean? It's either I'm watching for the potential threat or I'm having fun watching for potential threats, Yeah.
Well, that's why we reach towards substances usually, is to alleviate ourselves from that constant feeling of having to search for safety. It's hard.
A little fun fact about me too is like I love dancing, dude. I like going out and getting my ADHD out. I tell
Nice.
people I'm gonna go get my wiggles out. That's what I
Yeah,
tell them. I'm
buddy.
gonna go get my wiggles
Heck
out.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
gotta
yeah.
run.
Boogie, man. No.
Straight up.
You're gonna have your fun and be alert.
Oh yes.
You never know.
I'm a fire performer. I dance with fire.
Oh, I didn't even know
Oh,
that
that's
actually.
so cool.
That's sick, man.
That's pretty rad, dude. I mean, that's pretty rad.
I blow fire.
You ever had any get scared with that?
Yeah.
Is that why the beard's
Oh
thin?
yeah. I burned off like this much of my beard. This whole just gone.
As soon as you started, I was sure you did that.
That's
It's a lot of
hilarious.
fun.
Fire.
Dancing is a very, very, it's an ancient spiritual practice, really. It's super, super transformative for your whole nervous system, your soul. It's magic.
I love it, man. And for me, it just gets all the pent up energy in me from ADHD out. You know, it really just puts it out there, dude, and lets it go, you know? And for someone like me, I sit in a room all day and I don't really get to do much but QC these packets coming in the conveyor belt. So on the weekends when we get to go out and have fun, that's what I look forward to the most is whenever we get to stop bar hopping and start dancing, you know?
Heck yeah, man. I want to transition us into one more question that I would like to see if you have a response for. So do you have any media or websites or articles, anything you'd like to show the audience in regards to your life ventures and what's helped you kind of compile everything into a more reasonable place for yourself?
Oh man, if I had to I'm going to speak it very broadly, but podcast have very much helped me throughout my journey. Because anything that you want to know, I'm sure somebody is on a podcast talking about it, you know? And for me, if I want to know body language or anything like that, I go straight to these two people that I know that have given me solid information before, as well as if I want to learn stocks, I go find this dude that I just happen to stumble upon and he's teaching me the discipline and the things I need to know to be profitable in the stock market. And I just listen to that guy. You know, another big one is like Joe Rogan and all these other people, you know, I feel like podcasts in general were a big thing to happen to America or just the world in general, where we now get our information a little bit better now via podcasts. And podcasts have definitely helped me out because of that.
Yeah.
Whenever I don't know things, dude, I go look for someone that knows them. You know, if I have family that's in and out of prison, man, you know, and for me, if I want to know what prison's like, I go watch a podcast that talks about prison, you know, and then it kind of rechecks me a little bit and tells me, hey, you know, that's probably not where you want to be, you know, this, that, and the other. And then I also watch another podcast because he talks about a lot of the prisons that my stepfather's in. And I kind of am waiting on the story to pop up with my stepdad's name in it. You know, that's like the side note there. But podcasts are huge, man. You know, podcasts are huge. Outside of Facebook and YouTube and MySpace and all these other little social platforms, I feel like podcasts are a big one that really changed the way that we get information as society now. You know, because you have so many perspectives in the world. You know, just listening to Joe Rogan and a few of their podcasts, as well as other podcasts, have definitely answered a lot of questions in my life. You know?
Yeah, I mean, Joe Rogan did that as a passion project. He didn't think he was going to make anything off of podcasting, and it's going to be one of the biggest.
Yep. Same with UFC. He got offered to be in commentary.
Right. No, what was that, Eli?
I was just adding to what you're saying about the podcasting. It's this really great way of networking, you know, and it's a logged thing too. We can go and network with Joe Rogan and his buddy anytime we want and get that information that's super valuable, or our podcast here, of course, and all that. It's pretty amazing stuff.
I think it's just the coolest thing. I
do too. I really do.
I wanted to commend you too, Robert, on your thirst for knowledge and learning from other people. It's so huge. A lot of people go through life wanting to have all the answers and get jealous of people who want to share or have some answers, you know. And for me, it was a really big turning point in my life when I turned envy and jealousy and, you know, that that looking at what somebody else has that I want, into admiration and respect. And it just really started lifting me up after that. Everything's a lesson after that. Everything's knowledge to learn. Really good.
The world's our sponge, dude. We just got to soak it up. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Or something like that.
Something like that.
For me, just growing up, not being on the A+ board at school, or even the C board at school, or even the D board at school, dude, to be, my grades, being able to learn and take in all this knowledge and being able to like learn things that my teachers never probably once thought about teaching me is just a blessing for me, because I understand that it wasn't my mind at the time. It was my mind at the time. My mind now is a thirst for knowledge and a thirst for saving my people. You know what I mean? Saving my family, my main goal is saving us from financial harm, financial breakdown, financial this, financial that. Because my family's done a lot of living, dude. We need to do a lot of securing. That's what we need to do.
Healing.
Healing and securing, yes. Like I agree.
Securing. Okay.
Yeah, like my family lives very like, my dad might go out and try to sell like a water heater today to make some money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like my stepmom is going to sit there and want my dad to give some money to her. So he's going to have to go do something to give her some money, to fuel her addiction. You know what I mean? Or this, that, and the other. I feel like I need my family to flip. I need you to stop doing the bad thing and do the right thing. You know what I mean? I need you to come to my side where we're working. And like the one thing I want from my father, man, going into him just losing his father the other day, because now it's to the point where now it's just my dad, me, and my brother. You know what I mean? We're the only dudes.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's totally fine. Me, my brother, and my dad are the only males left in this side of the family that have a chance of producing legacy. And really, if we're looking at it, me and my brother are the only ones that are going to be able to produce a legacy. My dad, the goals I want my dad to go through now, and I'm not trying to chase him to do it. I just want him to want to do it. And I want him to tell me, son, I want to change my life. You know what I mean? This life ain't for it no more. I want to change it. Because that day that happens, I'm going to offer him a spot here, and I'm going to try to get him out of that town, and I'm going to try to get him a job. I'm going to try to do some change. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have the best relationship with my father. None of it. Me and my brother don't. None of us do. But I would change it in a heartbeat to have that relationship.
Yeah, I feel you, man.
No resentment whatsoever. It's just like I have to do my life, but if you're willing to change your life, then you could come with me. You know what I mean? Yeah. And we'll do it. Absolutely. We'll do it as a family. We'll do it together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just it's hard because communication's just not there with my father. So it's not, for me to tell my dad, hey, Dad, you need to go look up this podcast real quick. Your son was just on it. He's going to do it, but I'm not going to say he's going to be interested the whole time, But like, that's just how, but you understand what I'm saying? My dad's not the guy to sit there and watch TV, Yeah. But that's another reason why I was very happy about coming on here with you guys, is because I can say the things that I've been wanting to tell these guys, and I hope that they see this and they understand me better now. That's what I'm hoping.
Oh, that's good, man. It is. It's a different way for the information to come across, and it does. It usually it lands.
Yeah, it lands better coming from here than it lands coming from me, because typically if I were to go to them and say these kind of things, we'd probably be in a full-fledged argument.
Yeah. The nervous system comes up right away, and you move away from logical thought, and it's all reactivity. And it's just like, it's a human condition thing. It's so hard to get out of, and we carry so much shame afterwards. And it's such a working to come through and out of that. I know for me, I'm 43 years old, I'm about to be 44. And this is revelationary to me in just the last 5 years of doing the real work and of that kind of stuff. So
look, he looks like a fluffy 25-year-old, just like me. It's a bigger beard. Oh yeah, just I used to have my hat on. I went to do it.
I'm not. I wore it for the podcast. I normally don't. I don't hide it.
You have hair. You're like
that's a
Dude, I have the Mediterranean jeans. Okay, we're good to back.
Jeans my way, buddy. That's how we can take in a shot nowadays. Stem cells or something. Come on, Mediterranean stem cells.
Me 5 years ago is not me today. And like that's the one thing I would definitely change going into 5 years before. If I could change anything, would be treat people nicer, be more receptive to the energy and the learning that was set before me, because if I would have listened to more things that I learned back in the day, I probably would be in a different spot than I am today. You know what I mean? I'd probably be a little bit further, maybe a little bit further, further back, further forward, but if I had to give myself advice going forward, it would be get some more information out of what you missed,
the second best time to plant a tree other than 5 years ago?
Right now.
That's right.
Grandma told me that.
Yeah.
Jeff agrees, and I know Jeff. He may not have a mic, but I can tell you he's grown up around Chicago, and he went through some different environments of people and influences. It's something that's built him to be the person that I know him to be, which is some crazy and hold on, not just crazy, but hold on.
Crazy.
Just crazy. It's very
yeah, with crazy ones.
It may not be conventional, his tactics.
I've been crazy.
Yeah, exactly. He's willing to support and be that community member, and that's, I think, what I'm trying to go after, is that having that sense of community and bond of others around you, and realizing that you're not the only one that's struggling to find reason within these situations is important, because it's organic and healthy to talk and to communicate. It's what humans need to do, and it's something our society tends to devalue.
Devalued,
and it needs to stop. It needs to stop.
I feel like there's a warfare against that right now.
Well, we're part of that.
Social media. Yeah.
Like unironically, these kinds of get-togethers and publishings are going to be very important for the youth coming up, and that's the reason that I want to drive to improve it. I think we can really land some knowledge, into some people's situations that may not have, like you're saying, Robert, the best influences.
Yeah, a lot of people, in my town, a lot of people grow up without those influences. I'm going through that with my niece and my nephews and stuff. I hear them coming home from school being in trouble. This is happening and that's happening. And I'm like, I really wish I could, that's what I do, is I just try to give them the best instillment as I can, as far as what life should be and how they should be acting towards people. And, like my niece, she's like 13 years old, dude. She's just getting into that little weird mean girl stage where she wants to be mean to little girls and expect them to be her friend. I'm like, you can't do that. You know what I mean? What do you think you're doing? That's we call that being a little fake. You know what I mean? You might want to just stop doing that. And then, that's all they're going to learn on their own. But like, that's why I like coming on here with you guys and explaining things like this, because, people got to know, even when the odds are stacked against you, you could come out on a clean break or even better, and it's all up to you. It's all about your strength of will, your discipline, your honor, your, how you move through life. You have to want it. You have to want to be better to be better.
100%, man.
And I just wish that people in my town would have more of a instillment of like the standard morals, because a lot of people in my town, they're on the shady side of things where they're always trying to get over one on another,
Well, it's opportunistic mentality that's been like, it evolves into something more than just an opportunity. It's a lifestyle. And I think a lot of people don't realize that what they're doing is going to affect their life later on, especially if you build up a record and, you really criminally ruin your respect within society. That's, I could feel how I want, you could feel how you want, but it's the justice system. It's your employer. They're going to see that kind of stuff, and your life's changed. You have to change who you are to survive in the world that you've created for yourself. And that comes down to perspective, because you could live in your home or, wherever you call home and really just stay in your bubble, not really prosper, always struggle. That's always an option.
And you may make it through life staying in your bubble too. You may make it through life, but did you really experience life staying in your bubble?
Exactly.
Did you go jump off the bridge with a bungee cord? Did you go, cliff diving or whatever your hobbies or your wants are? For me, like a lot of I accomplished a lot of things that I wanted to do through working. Like I wanted to go to Florida and hang out. I went and got a job on a boat in Florida.
Nice.
And I spent some time there working and doing my thing. And like that's what I mean. Is like you have to bring yourself out your comfort circle to really experience life.
Yeah. You have to be outside of comfort to grow.
Yes, sir.
Definitely.
I think this has been fruitful today, and Jeff's down there telling us he's bungee jumped and he learned to fly. That was one thing that was big in his life. He's learning to trying to get his pilot license so he can finally fly those vehicles he's poked around and repaired.
I'm going to try to do that next. I'm trying to bring it to myself to skydive. I want to go skydiving. I ain't never done that.
Yeah, that'd be a crazy one. Oh, just jumped in the water, he says. Okay, not bungee jumped up. Nope, we can still strap Jeff on a bungee cord if we need to, guys. That's what I'm hearing. So we'll start a fund for that in 10 years. And, Jeff, your back pain will not be related to the show. That was stated now.
We won't talk about your L7 vertebrae, dude.
But yeah, is there any more questions for Robert before we close out on your life ventures?
One thing I just wanted to mention on your journey for bettering yourself, and you mentioned you like podcasts, is the Solved podcast has a lot of stuff. Oh,
which podcast?
We just cut out for a second. It's called Solved. It has a lot of stuff that is relatable for people with ADHD and just people who are trying to grow in life and up spiral. Just good stuff. Just want to suggest it.
I'm going to go look at that one because you really don't ever find a good one where it's like where like the person has ADHD and they've dealt with it. So I've never heard of that. Solved.
It's two men. It's two men going back and forth, and one of them has grown up with ADHD, and the other is not, and they have some good backgrounds. Good stuff. Solved. And I just want to plug the Inner Work real quick as a book for inner work.
Yeah, the Inner Work.
Yeah,
really good stuff.
Definitely look into that. Let me get that down real quick.
Yeah, I'm saving the screenshot too, just so I have those, and I'll post the link for both in the description.
Inner Works. I think we should definitely get into it again, guys. I think it would be kind of good to get in here and then talk about the next part of my life in Louisiana. Where we could start off where I moved to Louisiana and how I conquered that. If you guys are up for that kind of discussion.
Yeah, and I think a lot of things are going to come organically as we talk too. Like you would be surprised at how many times things correlate between subjects. So we can dive into that, but I think you dove into a lot more than you realized today. You had quite an extensive explanation and I think your point came across of how diversity in your life has really strengthened your roots and what you call home, and what you want to develop into your life.
No, I'm glad you guys had me for real. I do appreciate you guys. And I'm down to be on this thing again. You just got to shoot me a text, brother, and I'll be here.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll be in touch, and I think everyone can say that we enjoyed being a part of this story with you, man.
Absolutely.
It's so good meeting all you guys. Like I know y'all two from Hash Cannon and hanging out at Chiba Hut, but you guys up there, Thanos, and one more time, your name, sir.
Me?
Yeah.
Elijah.
Elijah. There you go. My bad. That'll be easy because my nephew's name is Elijah. Yeah, dude, it was so good meeting you guys. And I think you guys' perspective on the world is insane. And I think it's great. And insane in a good way, not insane in a bad way.
Insane in the membrane?
Hey,
And don't let you guys quiet. But no.
You guys have definitely made 2 hours go by crazy fast, and I do appreciate that. And I appreciate you guys hearing the story and not thinking anything or judging or anything like that. I really appreciate you guys.
Not at all, man. You're part of us. You're part of our group.
That's
and
right.
you're more than welcome to be within these discussions. I mean, Thanos isn't really a formal member of the show either. I just kind of bother him sometimes, and then sometimes he's here.
Hey, we go to work, we go friends, okay?
Yep.
But I try to make time.
No, I'm so glad you came, Thanos. I think this is great to have you today, and you added a
Yeah, it's
lot.
good to meet you, Thanos.
I'm really glad I met you guys.
No,
Pretty
you
fun
guys-
bunch.
Yeah, we're some crazy Americans over here, but you know,
We do stuff.
we do stuff. Don't worry, we're
I took-
still doing stuff.
Earlier, when I took a 2-minute break, I went outside to watch my son launch a rocket.
That's
So,
funny.
yeah, we do stuff.
Well, it's been a
You
pleasure,
should
guys.
sign him up for NASA.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there you go.
It's been his future, man. He's so into it.
Oh, I love it, man. They're gonna build the future. That's the truth. I mean, we're even old in context to someone being born today, guys. Like,
Just keeps
you
moving.
know,
sir.
perspective. But hey, it's been a pleasure, my friends, and I hope to see all y'all again soon here on the Intellectual Adventure Podcast.
Of
And
course.
until next time, we'll keep trekking on, and we'll see you guys later.
See you guys.
Take it
Jeff
easy, guys.
says, take care, all.
Take care.
See ya.